Well, Carol Baskin is basking in delight this morning after Trump refuses to pardon Joe Exotic for his various crimes.
Poor Joe.
You showed me this right before we started recording. You said, let's hold turtle time for a second. We've got about 10 minutes where we need to think about this. And you showed me this horribly sad meme, or not meme, post that Joe Exotic made from prison. It's this character crying in a corner, and it says, President Trump, you forgot to pardon one person, dot, 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 me, meaning you told me he wanted so badly for Trump day one to let Joe Exotic out of prison. He thought that pardon was coming.
I mean, that would have just been a fun moment for culture. Like, why not just throw him in the mix,
True. Yeah. It really depends on, and this is something I want to get clarity on. It depends on what Joe Exotic did.
Right. Yeah, what did he go to jail for? I love that we'll never know.
He said he made even more of a political statement. I was like, whoa, God. I was like, I don't like to get too political on Turtle Time, but he said, Joe, he goes, I thought Joe would have done it on his last day amidst his pardons. He was like, Turtle Time got one. Why didn't I get one? He goes, maybe I should have been a Joe Biden family member. And then he goes, or maybe it would have helped if I was one of the people on January 6th for Trump to pardon me. And I said to you, I go, hey, cool it, Joe Exotic. You just made fun of two presidents. That's not the way to get a pardon. You have to do what we did.
Yeah, like you're literally talking about the dudes that can help you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was for murder for hire.
Murder for hire. So that's a huge one.
And wildlife crimes, which we don't like.
We saw what he was doing wildlife-wise. That's what I got a huge taste of. It was sort of Timothy Treadwell-esque. Yeah. Do you remember him in Grizzly Man?
Oh, yes.
Because Joe Exotic, he had a kind of a playful relationship with the Tigers, but a lot of people said when they were looking at that, they were like, I don't know if this is the perfect environment for a tiger oasis. But I'll be honest with you, I only watched Tiger King for one day in COVID.
Let's talk about this again.
All right. So prayers up. Well, actually, now that I learned that he's murder for hire, and I don't want him out of prison yet. Let's just wait on that. Let's think about it for a little bit, and you and I will get up to date. And then, but that was an interesting, news update that we wanted to talk about first, I thought.
Yeah, it's relevant. But something crazy just happened in our world. I got a text, 30 minutes ago that Bethenny Frankel herself commented on your TikTok.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for giving me this strength in the place to talk about that. Yeah, I didn't hear it either because Megan was in the other room with Penny helping her, and I was getting ready for Turtle Time, and then she sent the screenshot, and I go, how could this be real? It's Bethenny, and she goes, I literally have no fucking clue what you're talking about. She didn't say the F word, but she goes, but I listened to almost the whole thing. So when did you stop? When did you start? But I liked it overall. That's a
How
nice
long was
sentiment.
your video?
5 minutes and 30 seconds.
I mean, even if it's almost, that's a great, completion rate.
Good completion rate. I realized I could have probably tidied up things in the beginning, but I was sort of reeling from the twist of RHONY, which we'll get into. So I kind of was taking my time, but I got to a real crux of it around the 2-minute mark. And so maybe that's when Bethenny was like, okay, I got the gist.
I'm going to watch it after this. As you know, I do not partake in your content because I want to hear it fresh to react to. Otherwise, I'll be like, oh, yeah, you already said that.
I appreciate that so much. There are some things where, you've said, and I was like, I talked about that in TikTok, but I'm so glad you said it because Turtle Time is a completely separate endeavor, But I was happy, I haven't even thought about this, but I was happy that Bethenny learned a little bit of the new RHONY from me. Yeah. I was like, that kind of felt like cool. Like what a universe we're in now. So thank you, Bethenny, so much for watching most of that TikTok. That was really sweet.
Yeah, when we get into the nitty gritty of what happened on RHONY this week, we should do a little comparison about how that would have played out with previous casts, Because, we'll talk about it, but RHONY finally had sort of a breakthrough moment this week in the sense that it was shocking and wall breaking and entertaining, but at the same time it was so bleak and so dark that it's not fun at all. So I'm excited to like get into it with you, but at the same time, I'm like, this like is almost shouldn't have even like been shown.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only so groundbreaking for how dark and horrible it gets for the cast of Real Housewives of New York. And it's also something that's just kind of like, you know, you can never replicate this. You know, it's not indicative of like the quality of this show. It's just that something fundamentally broke while they were filming and they had to deal with it. But we'll get into that because you and I are both champing at the bit, and that'll be the first thing we talk about.
Yeah.
Before that, I just wanted to say, when we were talking about Baldoni and Blake Lively 2 days ago, our last Turtle Time, I thought that shit was 2024, and I was like, you know, I'm glad we finally talked about it. But I thought that what the lawsuits were going to pile up, and they were going to what's it called when they cancel each other out?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like, okay, you filed six lawsuits. It's a wash.
Yeah.
But then right after, I feel like it was like, well, everybody was talking about it, but there was a raw footage released of one of the accusations. And remember, I was kind of being one of those morons that wasn't in the know. And I was repeating claims from the Lively and Reynolds behemoth.
Yeah.
Or you know, their side, and then you go, no, that's been dismantled. And then another one was that Blake Lively accused Justin Baldoni of sniffing her on set uncontrollably, like a werewolf or a vampire, some sort of supernatural creature that gets off on the scent of others.
He was like, "Oh, you smell so good."
He's like, you know, there's like 100 people around you on set, literally 100. But anyway, he was sniffing, and she goes, he said,
first degree sniffing.
He goes, it was one of the biggest whiffs of sniff anyone's ever taken from me. And then the raw footage, he goes, let's release this shit. I think that this is all And they're filming a montage, and it's a montage of lovely moments where a whirlwind romance or people in love are having. It's like, smile at me. You smile at me. I'm next to you. They're smiling the whole time, but they're allowed to just talk about random shit. So
they're talking. She's like, I think we should talk more. And he's like, what if we just gaze at each other? Because that's what me and my wife do. And she's like, me and Ryan never shut the fuck up. So I think we should talk. And he's like, yeah, me and my wife don't really do that. You would probably think it's weird. And she was like, haha, like they're having a full on conversation, a back and forth. I'm sorry, but it's very a normal. Normal.
Yeah, normal. You're fine to say normal. And then the one moment that they took, in isolation was she says, I have sunscreen lathered all over my body.
Tan.
I have spray tan, and he goes, you smell nice. I thought.
Yeah, like he's like, well, it smells good. And at one point, they like touch noses or something, and she makes a joke that he should get a rhinoplasty.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, if he said that to you, you would be like, death penalty.
Yeah, do you think that was sort of Blake Lively, like Ryan Reynolds infected irreverent humor that Blake Lively has now took upon herself?
I think she's always been that way. I also just watched a video of her saying that all the videos are coming out of the woodwork, which I'm like, that his PR team didn't even need to do anything because the videos were already there and whatever. But I just watched a video of her. I don't know what she was doing press for. It was with Justin Long and Jonah Hill. I don't know. Have they been in something together?
Was it a long time ago?
Yeah.
Maybe a really shitty like Kevin Smith movie or something?
Maybe. But she's like joking around and she's like, I'm kind of a nerd. And Justin Long is like, I hate when like hot chicks call themselves geeks or whatever. And she's like, no, like, and she tells this weird story where she says that her and her friend in high school were spying on their crush. And so she did blackface to hide herself.
Whoa.
And I'm like, Blake.
Yeah, that's one of those stories you don't have to tell. You know what I mean?
Where's that clip been hiding? Because like,
yeah. Seriously.
The hits just keep on coming.
Yeah, and then I heard a little new thing that piqued my interest. My wife told me, she was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you guys talked about Baldoni and Lively. And she was saying that Baldoni wants Sony to release footage from the Deadpool versus Wolverine set because, you already know this probably, but because they think nice that this
pool.
nice pool...
I'm so furious that I have to know what that is. Like, I would have gone to my grave happily not knowing that there was a nice pool.
Yeah, it's werewolf and, or what's it called? Not werewolf and Deadpool, but it's not it's like a 6.5 out of 10. I don't overly hate it. I didn't love it. But Nice Pool is this character where it kind of does seem funny now in context that he might have been replicating Justin Baldoni. If Justin Baldoni's reputation is like the nicest guy in the world. Is that the reputation?
I think that, okay, here, I'll preface this by saying I don't even give a fuck about Justin Baldoni. I don't know him.
Right.
I don't care. I'm not going to bat for him. I'm just saying I'm like forensically watching the back and forth and it's not adding up. But I know I didn't know who he was before any of this, but people that watch Jane the Virgin, I think like really love him a lot.
Oh.
I think that's what he's from, or like what people know him from. And I think he generally does have a good reputation from people that have worked with him. But whatever.
It'll be so wild though if Sony releases the footage and Ryan Reynolds is talking like behind the camera and he's going, look at this piece of shit character I'm doing. It's based off Justin Baldoni, who I hate from working on No One Ends With Us, or what's that movie called? It Ends With Us?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, I'm like, I don't want to, watch the avalanche of comments telling it's like Carl 2.0 all over again.
I thought it was 90% positive towards you.
I'm just scared.
I think the world is seeing these clips and thinking about it a little more. It's just adding more context to accusations that are being hurled.
Well, that one, the smell-orama clip makes me feel a lot more emboldened because that was one of the like creepier accusations. Like that was one of the ones where you're like, ooh, maybe it was really bad, where you're like, ooh, like he made her feel really uncomfortable, which like you would just have to be like, I can't, like, that may, sure, like I can't refute that. Like I don't know what happened in the privacy of set, like whatever. But then watching it in real time and her still saying that what we just watched is what she's talking about, I'm like, no.
Yeah, well, it's like for a viewer, you could see that they're in the smile and they're really close and they're in the loving montage. So when you say you smell good and you're looking like you're next to their neck and smiling, it could make it seem like the smell good is coming from that same sentiment within your mind. But in reality, they're filming a montage scene where they have to be acting in love with each other. Yeah. And then he says that.
And you can see his persona change when he yells cut. Like he starts talking differently. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's not like he was just like it was blurred together. Like he's like, I think we got it. Like
get me out of here.
Yeah, and I'm like, it kind of reminds me of like when Lindsay Hubbard, because I honestly feel the same way. She triggers me in the same way. That's why they seem very similar to me. These women.
Wow.
Like they scare me is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I am scared of them. But. Like when Lindsay Hubbard would be like, you have no idea the werewolf that Carl turns into when the cameras are down. And then you would see on camera what she would consider screaming or, like he just like bit my head off. He like ripped me a new asshole. And you're like, he was like, Lindsay, I disagree.
Yeah. When you see the actual reality versus how they perceived it and how they told people about that interaction, there was a huge difference in what Lindsay was telling people versus what we actually were seeing, for sure.
But then it's like, at the same time, it's like that, say, like the you smell good thing, watching it, it's so innocuous. And she's joking with him in an equally irreverent manner, like saying like you should get a nose job, like we'll shut down production, get that taken care of. Like she's
irreverent as hell
fucking with him too. So it's not like she's like at a disadvantage or whatever, but it's like obviously that comment stuck with her for her to even remember it. You know what I mean? Like where did she pull that from if it didn't bother her originally? You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's I think it's worthwhile to dissect this shit, and think about it more. So I was thankful to learn a little bit about it. I want to apologize too. I was making a scurrilous accusation against Baldoni 2 days ago. I said, "Who the fuck says I'm the best person for this role? Like, I'm going to direct this, and I got a great idea for the lead." Colleen Hoover herself, who I don't know anything about, she wanted Baldoni. Apparently, people commented. They said. Colleen Hoover wanted Baldoni to be this man. And I go, well, shut my mouth. Absolutely. Like that.
But then
okay.
she left him in the lurch.
Oh, my God. Because
and then I think she deleted her Instagram completely.
Oh, so she doesn't want to be involved in this. Well, you know what? It probably just got too toxic for her. And she's like, I'm not taking a side here. But anyway, I just want to say Turtle Time now, you can get your full Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively news from Amy and I. You no need to look for any other sources. This is it for the next,
We're renaming our podcast.
Yeah.
It ends with us podcast.
Yeah, it ends with us. So, speaking of ending, something, might end the news segment unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, let's go from this sensitive subject matter to even more sensitive subject matter that's hard to talk about.
Yes, very sensitive, and I was thinking about this overall. It's very complicated. So hopefully you and people will give us some grace because we're talking about the most sensitive issues in the world. So, forgive Amy and I, but this is very loaded, subject matter.
Yeah.
Also,
trigger warning in advance.
Absolutely.
Of the subject.
This whole segment. And also I want to say we're going to talk about RHONY first. We're going to go in order of enjoyment. RHONY, my God, was by far the best thing of the shows that we're going to recap of Potomac and Beverly Hills. So we're going to talk about that first. I want to say if people are not watching RHONY, before Amy and I spoil the living shit out of it, I would actually probably watch 42 minutes, even isolated. Yeah. You don't really need to know any context. It's pretty self-contained. The only context you really need to know, and they kind of establish it, is that Brynn has a sort of a past where she's twisted things, that have appeared on the show. But other than that, it's self-contained and it's legitimately shocking. And Andy Cohen was, I think for the first time since he's been making these pronouncements about the absolute shocking, dark, untouched subject matter, he was right about this. I was like, oh my God, Andy Cohen properly prepared me for this. So I would say watch it and then listen to us talk about it. But of course, you can do whatever you want. Yeah.
I couldn't, when we saw what he said, and then I saw some tweets about no, for real, it's crazy, it's really dark. And I was like, what could that even possibly mean?
Me too. Yes, totally. You sent me a tweet from someone and it was just like, there's no way. We know all of the chess pieces. We know the game. We know everything they're capable of. You and I have been watching it for 2 full seasons, dissecting everything they've done. There's nothing that can happen that could be groundbreaking in this format. And it was the most shocking thing because for me, the twist is that at the very most of what I thought I was going to see here was that RHOBH was going to have a screaming, meltdown that required a fourth wall break because that's how the trailer set it up. Jessel was like, Mount Vesuvius erupted and I had to pull the plug on it. And then you hear RHOBH's scream, a scream I've never heard before. So I was seriously going, and RHOBH has already been fired up because Brynn's been pissing her off from the last season. So knowing it was to be continued, I thought, okay, at the most, it's going to be a fourth wall break for the level of anger that erupts within the house. But that was the best I could imagine. And it was so much, not better than that, but so much more compelling than that.
Right. Yeah. I know. It's so weird to talk about because it's it's not fun. Usually when, Scary Island is what happens is so outrageous and surprising and shocking, but still within the level of you're just what the hell was that? And
totally.
Kelly, even though she potentially had a mental break, comes out on the other side okay, so it can still be funny forever. But this, you're
yeah.
It's just bummer territory. But it is exciting just because it was unprecedented, and luckily the action happens pretty quickly in the episode.
And Andy was right about that too. He said it's completely in the same night, basically a true to be continued. Like
Yeah.
it continues from what we saw with Brynn and Uba. This episode was called Paradise Lost. I saw that before I even knew what this was going to be, and I was like, hey, RHONY had a good title. I like that. Literary, beautiful, makes sense.
What is Paradise Lost?
I think it's a shit.
Is it a poem?
Oh, I'm thinking of The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. I'm sure it's a book. I'll probably check at some point because I don't want to leave everybody hanging. But there are some literary Little Turtle cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs that are going to be screaming when they know what this was. So let's take it. I think that almost every section of this should be discussed. So let's take it nice and slow because it really it ramps up. So at first they start talking about some garbage, absolute garbage. So Brynn and Uba just had the most explosive fight. That's where we left off. You and I said it was one of the first real fights that we've ever seen on RHONY. The hatred was palpable. So we're still thinking about that, but then they immediately do what they do on RHONY, which is talk about unrelated garbage because they don't know what to do typically. They think, oh, let's just talk about this Jessel shit. So they have a 5 to 7 minute conversation about something that absolutely does not matter at all. Who was talking shit about Jessel? Yes.
And then it veers into what Pavitt said about Sai, calling her a bipolar bitch. In her interview, Jess was like, I mean, you did imply that he was a sex tourist, so that wasn't great.
Yeah, and it's true. I forgot that was even an accusation that was leveled. It was a very clear reference to him possibly being that. So I do think that it is kind of a wash, like Jessel said. You know, I mean, like,
I think of him every time I use my points or do an upgrade. I'm like, Pavitt style.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. So then Jenna and Raquel are confused. They're talking about some Jessel shit. They're like, what are they talking about in there? Brynn and Uba, most likely, right? Because that's the wildest thing that we've ever seen on this show to date. It's like, no, we had to talk about Jessel. But then they all go into Jenna and Raquel's room. And then this is when they say, you know, that comment that Uba said about Brynn sleeping with someone on the show, that was uncalled for. And they're like, they're both going low, but that was pretty bad. It's one of the worst accusations you can level against someone. It's shitty, it's horrible, and they're all kind of rallying around the fact that Uba should never say something like that about Brynn.
Yeah. And then she comes in and she's like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, you gotta stop calling her a whore. Like, you just gotta. And she's like, she's furious because she's like, I'm not the one, because everyone keeps, it was annoying that people kept saying the thing that was her one trigger that she was going to hold on to till she died, that she wasn't the one that said, you put a dick in your mouth. Sorry, it's so crude, but
we have to say it because they say it 100 times.
Yeah. So it's like, she said on the van, you probably slept with someone to get on this show. Then afterwards, Brynn is like, do you want me to shut up? Should I put a dick in my mouth to shut up? Because you always think that I am doing things along those lines, is basically what she said. And then for the rest of the episode, both Brynn and everyone else are saying that Uba said that she had a dick in her mouth. And she's like, I did not say that.
Yeah.
And it ruins the conversation like 10 different times because she's like, I didn't say that. Brynn said that. And she's like, she twists my words and she's put those words in my mouth because I didn't say the dick in the mouth comment. And it's like, can someone just be like, okay, yeah, Brynn said that. You said something that implied something similar, so it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah.
But like, it kept derailing and it was so annoying.
It was, but thankfully it doesn't derail it to a degree to where it's unwatchable. At about 20 minutes in, they stop arguing of the semantics of that, and a new reality springs forth. So then, you know, Brynn comes in. They what's it called? They talk again about the difference of what they said. Uba said, you know, I only said, you know, that because, you know, you said that, just like you said. And then, so Brynn starts to really get worked up. I think Brynn is maybe the drunkest she's ever been on this show. Would you agree with that?
Maybe. I didn't immediately think that because she was just like so upset that it was hard to tell. Like when everyone else was talking, she was like low key crying, but like a lot of people were like, everyone just already seemed upset at this point. But yeah, she was just kind of like ranting and raving. So I couldn't tell if she was just like, I mean, she wasn't making a lot of sense. So maybe,
Yeah.
But yeah, she's basically doing a whole speech about how, like, how dare she say stuff like that? I've worked so hard. Like, I'll show you my pay stubs. Like, why can't a woman like me earn money honestly? Like, and everyone's like, chill, like, it's fine. Like, she's just like really making a meal out of this.
Yeah, kind of like a monologue, a little bit of a drunken monologue. Like, I sucked a dick to get a job. When in my life have I ever done this? Is that on my LinkedIn? When I was in charge of the BP oil spill, do you think I sucked dick to get it cleaned up? And Uba goes, of course you're making this about you, you narcissistic bitch, you PR bitch. So again, it fails. They fail to meet in the middle here about what they're actually talking about. Brynn starts screaming again about how delusional Uba is. She calls her a 6-foot toddler for the first time. She goes, you're completely fucking delusional. That's why you think you're Naomi Campbell.
Yeah.
And then Raquel is like, stop. Brynn and Uba are screaming at the top of their lungs. It's such a sensitive issue. They're getting nowhere. Raquel has to go over to Brynn and kind of comforts Brynn, holds her almost like to stop Brynn. Like, Brynn, you both sound a little crazy right now. You're spiraling. Nothing good is going to come out from this. So like Raquel has that moment with Brynn, to calm her down.
Yeah. And then Uba grabs Erin and she's like talking about how, I think she's saying like she always puts words in my mouth, etc. She's like, at that dinner, I was in the corner with like my feet on the table, minding my own business, and she called me out. And so I think it's like Uba, Erin, and Sai are all talking about this. And then Rebecca, who I keep forgetting even exists, pops into the room and is like, you guys, like the food is here. Like everyone's been drinking. We haven't been eating. You should probably just let's come out and eat or whatever. And they're like, okay.
Mom. This girl sucks. Oh my God, she sucks so bad. I was like,
Uba goes, get out of my room, you fucking bitch. I was like,
that was so mean. That's the old RHONY that wasn't worth this, season finale. Like, that was so shitty. I hate that they're using Becca as a target of their ire like that. Then they say, you can diffuse this in 5 seconds, Uba. Just go over to her and apologize. And Uba says, I don't like Brynn at all, but I'm just going to do this. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to try to make this better. And she actually does. I mean, well, she doesn't make it better. She tries to go apologize to Brynn.
Yeah. So right before they get together, it goes back to the other room. Brynn is crying. She's like pointing to each of the women in the room saying like, let's tell your son that you suck dick to get your job. Let's tell your kid that you suck dick to get a job. She goes, my kids will see this one day. I was watching with Jimmy. I was like, she doesn't have kids.
Yeah. Also, I was like, wow, we're throwing around, analogies. I haven't seen that, work out well on different franchises. She's literally saying like, let's tell everyone you suck dick for a job. Yeah. That's what Angie was pissed about Lisa Barlow about on Salt Lake City. So I was like, well, damn. Okay. But they tolerated that.
She loves to like, live in the world. Like she like preemptively claims having kids. Like when Rebecca a few weeks ago was like, when you have kids, you'll understand. She was like, how dare you? Like, I do not have kids, and that's a real like pain point for me. And I said at the time, I'm like, you're not like having fertility struggles. Like you just literally don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. She said she knows all things. She's all knowing, and there's not one thing on earth that she doesn't know. And so this is when Brynn is having she's very upset, and she's kind of talking to an audience of Raquel, Jessel, and Jenna.
Yeah.
Right. And this is when she reveals the crux of the entire episode, which
she's sort of like, she's very upset. She's sort of like going on about like, she says, you're going to make a joke about me, about like me sucking dick or whatever when I'm in support groups for sexual assault, and you want to say that I suck dick. And she goes, and everyone's like, Jessel like is like mouth agape. She's like, holy shit, like what do you mean? Like what do you like, what are you talking about? And then she goes, and Uba knows this. She's like, I told her before BravoCon that I was raped. And I was like, and everyone's like, huh? Like, Jenna's like, she knew that? And everyone's like, she's like, this is why the Jeff Lewis shit bothers me. This is like, I can't even talk about anything along those lines because it's very upsetting to me right now. You know, like everyone, like Jenna, like almost immediately cries. Raquel in her confessional is like, I can't even look at Uba with this new information. And then you do like my immediate response was like, oh God, like, do I need to like like we had already talked about this, that like probably a lot of her persona and like could be part of that traumatic event and stuff like that. But yeah, like the Jeff Lewis thing is like, do I need to like retread that through this new point of view? Which still maybe so, but there's like a lot of shit with her just dropping that bomb.
Yeah.
You're left to think a lot of things.
Totally. And it's kind of going on the path that you expect a little bit, except with the new revelation that Uba knew. So you're like, you're reckoning with that, you know, for the first time. And on this show, you know, other franchises are a lot wilder and crazier stuff happens. But on this show, the accusation that Uba knew that this happened and still said that about her, made a very insensitive, you know, comment about her sexual activity or whatever, it is so bad. I mean, and Raquel and Jenna like just cannot believe it. They're like, oh my God, how could she? How could she have ever said something like that if she knew that the worst thing in the world had happened to you, Brynn?
Right. So then they're all going to go eat, but then Uba pulls Brynn aside and you're like, oh, is this whole situation going to come up? Because it's the first thing that happens right after she says this.
Yeah.
But Uba attempts to apologize, and this is where the semantics of the dick sucking comes into play, and Brynn isn't satisfied with the apology because Uba wants to qualify that it wasn't those words. She meant the like slept with someone for a job, and Uba keeps saying, I said maybe. And I'm like, just give it up. Like, you know what you said.
Yeah, but also I felt like Brynn also was just not going to let an apology happen, you know, from Uba at all. Like she was resistant to the entire thing. Like Uba had no chance, no matter what she said, of that apology.
It was
working.
like 30 seconds, and she got up, and then
also in the kitchen, Jenna and Raquel, while they're eating, they're like bawling, crying, and Aaron wasn't in the conversation, and Aaron is going, "What the fuck happened?" Because Jenna goes, I am so upset right now, and Raquel goes, I'm sorry, but like this is not our story to tell. But they've just been like hit with the biggest like thing in the world that Brynn just told them, but they don't know how to tell the rest of the cast that they had just heard this thing. Anyway,
and it's so bad that like they literally eat for 30 seconds and they're like, time for bed, like fuck this day, like let's start again tomorrow. And they just the next thing is that it's 10:56 p.m. They are taking all their mics off, and the cameras go down, and then basically the rest of the episode is like mic-less, like chaos footage.
Paranormal Activity camera. So the episode could have ended there, you know, in a different reality. The season could have ended. We would have never seen what this meant. Maybe they would have had a sit down between Uba and Brynn on camera where they actually talked about it, because you can't leave something like this up in the air.
Yeah.
But the issue is that the gravity of what Brynn said doesn't seem to be shared by Brynn in her reality. But everyone else is like, this is the most shocking, horrible, despicable thing, if true, about Uba.
Yeah.
So then the cameras go down, and it's like, we have to continue talking about this.
Yeah.
So that's when Jessel does the biggest thing in the world, the thing that makes the rest of this all possible. MVP, absolutely, because this could have just been there. Uba could have found out when she got the screener.
Yeah.
I mean, no, seriously, if everybody was like, we hate Uba, like we will never talk to her again. Uba's like, guys, I want to check in with you. She had no idea. Jessel goes into Uba's room. She tells her, why did you make that comment about Brynn sleeping with someone to get on the show when you knew that she was raped? Jenna and Raquel are getting their mics off and their hair and makeup done, and they hear a guttural scream.
Yeah.
Like a scream I've never heard from a room that they don't have properly captured. They just have it from a mic in the room. And you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is happening? Right at that moment, you're like, what the hell is going on?
It was like the sound. It was like Vicky when she found out her mom died. Like, it was like primal, like you just heard the worst news of your life.
Yep. Then, totally. And the reason why you have to be in the moment of this, and you have to think about Uba. You have to think about her. Imagine that you just heard from the rest of the cast that Brynn on camera said that she was, I have to say the word, sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Told the whole cast that you knew. And you know that now that's what they all think. It's like she is absolutely reeling from what she is going to look like for doing one of the most despicable, awful things in the world.
Yeah. She says in her confessional, she's like, I almost went mental. Sai says that when she walked in the room, Uba was in the corner, like on the ground, shaking and sobbing. And she busts out of the room, and like the chaos that ensues, I was thinking, I'm like, what would I do? Or like, what would another cast member that isn't as like hot-headed or like reactionary have done? Like, would you be like, I'm just trying to think of a less chaotic version of like, just being like, Brynn, what did you just tell them? Like, repeat back to me what you said. Yeah. And then go down the line to each of them and be like, that's fucking bullshit. Don't even let that enter your brain for one single second. I would absolutely never fucking do that. Like, Brynn, you're done.
Yeah.
And like, goodbye.
Asked to pick up cameras, start filming it for yourself so that you have evidence that this is not something you did. But really, they slowly walk through this. And this is when the episode completely changes from like, oh my God, potentially do you think that Uba heard that, but still would make this horrible remark. But then as it starts to trickle through in the stories you hear, because they're telling their confessionals, Jenna says, the way Uba talked to me, she goes, Jenna, you can't believe this. You can't believe this. Would you ever think that I could do something like this? And Jenna says, the way she talked to me about it, I don't think that Uba knew. And
Raquel said that Uba said, may Allah strike me down and kill my firstborn if I did this. Like, everyone was like, there's no Raquel's crying while she says this. She's like, there's no way she would say something like that if it weren't true. But yeah, meanwhile, Uba's running around. She goes, Brynn, you said on camera that you were raped and that I knew. Are you kidding me? She goes, I'm going to kill this girl. And she's just like running around the house. Everyone starts coming out. They're like, what the fuck? Erin is like, when she found out, she was like, how would Uba even know that? I don't even know that. Like, that's new information to me. Brynn comes out. She's like, what's going on? And then she starts to chaotically tell the story of how she told Uba, I guess. And in her confessional, she says it again. And it's even chaotic in the confessional where you're like, oh, I don't believe you.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a tell also when Brynn walks over and she goes, what are you all talking about? And they're obviously talking about Uba and everything. They go to Brynn, they go, Uba is saying she didn't know. And the way Brynn says this, it's very odd. She says it very casually. She goes, she didn't know? And I was like, oh my God, that is not the that is not the right tone for you saying definitively on camera that someone knew.
If you were sure, you'd be like, she fucking knew. You know, she was like, she didn't know.
Yeah. And then I have to say, at this point, when even the doubt among Jenna and Raquel starts coming in, I have to be honest that given what we know about Brynn and her relationship with the truth, you start to pick apart that quite possibly at this point she probably didn't tell Uba. So like you learn that pretty quickly as an audience member watching this. And then when Brynn she says that thing very off that she didn't know. And then when she recounts the story, like you said, she goes, I talked about it. It was at BravoCon. There was a suicide attempt for one of my a loved one, and I kind of was just saying, what a shitty year, what a bad year. Why does bad stuff always happened to me? And I was kind of hysterical when I was saying it, so I don't really know if if she clocked it, but in my mind she knew. And I was just like, you don't know if Uba clocked in a conversation that she heard that you had been raped
Yeah.
in the midst of a long conversation that you were having. It's
like there would be a comment, there would be a follow-up, there would be a like, wait, what did you just say? Like she wouldn't just be like, oh, it was one of the bullet points in my complaints about 2023 or whatever. Like, no.
Yeah, and the way she says it is already starting to sound suspicious. You know, she doesn't even say what she specifically said in the conversation because she either can't recall it or she doesn't want to pin down what she actually said. So she just made it seem like she had, just a free-flowing conversation, and Uba should have, internalized that happened amidst all of the other shit that she was telling her, which it starts off on a bad foot because Brynn would have definitely known if Uba had heard that.
At least certainly you need to know enough to say that to other people. Uba's like running around the house screaming, this bitch is lying, like, you fucking bitch, you psycho bitch. She's yelling at Brynn, calling her a psycho bitch. She kind of yells at Raquel for like even letting her go to bed without knowing this.
Yeah, she goes, you told Jenna that we shouldn't have told me about this? You were going to let me sleep with this information?
Are you insane?
And it is insane. It is insane. It is too big of an accusation to make against another cast member for you not to tell Uba that this happened.
I think they knew that this is what was going to happen, and they were like, I absolutely cannot handle this right now. I will also say that when Uba's running around the house calling Brynn a psycho bitch, like a liar psycho, I was like, I mean, I'm not blaming her, but I was just like, this does not feel good. Like where it's like one enemy is someone who's been sexually assaulted and the other one is someone that like has been set up by that person or whatever. But I was just like, there's no one to like root for because it's just like a bummer. Like you're not like, yeah, get her ass. You're like, this is really sad. Like whatever made her do that is like dark shit, you know?
Yeah, true. I was, as Uba was screaming, you said it kind of like, what's the hypothetical other way she could have handled this? It's like you're not really gaining all of the sympathy that you could have this moment by calling her a lying psycho bitch. So I agree with you there. But I have to get in Uba's head again and think about the non-sexual assault story that she never heard, not even entering her brain. All she hears is what a cast member that she absolutely hates and has accused of doing in the past now just did to her on a scale that is like a nuclear bomb instead of all the dumb shit that Brynn has lied about in the past. So,
right.
I don't know. It's just in the moment, who could be in Uba's brain there and thinking that the world might potentially have thought that you did that if you didn't rectify it immediately in the moment.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
I mean, we didn't have too long to believe that Uba did that. Like, we had maybe a couple minutes where that reality existed because we pretty quickly got the other side of the story where it was a little bit debunked or whatever. But I was kind of like, Uba is a little bit careless about the shit that she says. Like, there was that, like, people's moms die of cancer all the time, like last week, and like she just kind of like throws shit out all the time where you're like, that was extreme. Like even just when she said Rebecca Minkoff, like, get the fuck out of my room, bitch, because she was like, pizza's here. Like she just kind of like is a little loony about the shit that she says sometimes. So I was like, I could see a world in which she didn't even like connect the dots or whatever. But although I think their dynamic would just be completely different if she had been given that information. Like I think she would just treat Brynn differently from that point forward, probably. So anyways, I'm just like, there was like, it was a weird like mental situation of like trying to as it unfolded, you know?
Absolutely. Brynn, because she was drunk, she mismanaged her reaction to this whole thing, and she could have stood firm and doubled down and said the story that she told specifically, but unfortunately she allowed benefit of the doubt because I don't think she was at full capacity because she was drinking. So she kind of ruined whatever her side of this story could have been for me specifically. But I get exactly what you're saying, you know, regarding Uba for sure. And there is still in Jenna's mind, she says it later, Jenna is like, now I don't believe that Uba heard it, but I have to know, did Brynn say it in that long,
Sure.
monologue towards her when she was very upset. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Uba is like, meanwhile, she like barfed. Like a producer like runs to the fridge to get her water because Uba's like throwing up. She's so upset.
I would be barfing.
Yeah.
I would be barfing if I found out that was possibly, what I was going to be, a brush that I was going to be painted with.
Yeah. She goes to a hotel. Jessel accompanies her, which is nice. And then at 12:17 a.m., the rest of the remaining girls are together. Brynn's there, and she tells the story again. And this is where this is all through storytelling. Like Erin's talking about what happened in the closed door room.
And it's amazing, by the way. It's amazing. It is the best that obviously the best that RHONY has ever been. And the way they tell this story, they crafted it perfectly. The footage, the confessionals, the tone, piecing it all together. It became a documentary about, a lie being told and what's the truth.
Yeah, because the only footage you have is like the hallway cam.
Yes.
And then it would be like, and then Brynn came in again and you would see her like walking back in and it was like scary.
And they give you every necessary detail you need to parse this for yourself. So it's really, really well done. And none of their annoying bullshit is there in their confessionals. They are perfectly there to tell the audience. Testimony. Yes, absolutely. Perfect testimony.
Yeah. Erin, this is where she says that she's telling the story again. And she's like, I told her amongst a bunch of other things. And she goes, and then Brynn said, come to think of it, maybe she didn't clock it. And she's like, and that's when I knew it was bullshit. And Raquel is like, I zoned out after like 2 minutes. And they were like, why? Why did you zone out? And she was like, because I knew she was lying.
Raquel is also MVP of this episode. Jessel did a great thing by helping rectify a huge wrong in the moment, but Raquel, audience surrogate like I've never seen. I felt every moment of Raquel going through this, her comforting Brynn at first, and then her being like, I can never look at Uba the same way again. You get the full emotional arc of how Raquel was feeling through her confessionals. Yeah. And then the final one that hits you so hard is her saying, because I realized she was lying. And then I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe the cast members are going to learn in real time that Brynn lied about something like this. It was so revelatory because you and I have been talking about how much Brynn lies on this show. Yeah. So I could not believe that the season finale was actually people going, oh my God, how could Brynn lie about something like this?
Raquel, like throughout basically every step of it is like crying in her confessional. Like when she finds out about Brynn, what happened to her, she cries and she's like, it's unfortunately too common of a story. It's so sad. Like that's horrible. Then when she finds out about what Uba did, she goes, I can't even look at her. And then here she's like, I can't believe that so she just like kind of takes us through. Yeah.
It's amazing. And then and then you're also like, wait, Raquel was the most sympathetic and didn't like Uba and like hated how Uba was treating her and everything. So if Raquel is feeling that way, it's serious. It really means something. And then you get more. They compound on it. Erin goes, I would bet my life that Uba didn't know. And I was like, oh my God, Raquel is not just an isolated incident. All of the cast members now believe this.
Yeah. Jenna was like, it was actually like really sad. Like it felt like Brynn was a little kid trying to get people on her side, which I did kind of notice in this episode. Everyone sort of gave her like a baby sister vibe. And I'm like, she's not really like younger. No. I mean, she's younger than some of them, but they were kind of treating her like she was like, like needed help.
Totally. And also saying that lies are a part of Brynn's character, falsehoods or twisting details or stirring the pot. Unfortunately, she stirred the pot like, until it boiled over completely and they couldn't deal with it anymore. That same thing that they were able to deal with in the past has now gone way too far.
Yeah.
And then Asai also, was obviously agreeing with this. She said that Brynn came back a couple more times to continue to check the temperature. What are you all talking about? Knowing that she might have overplayed her hand here with what she did. So there's a lot of things that Brynn did in the moment that night that makes you very suspicious, of what she did.
When not everyone goes to bed, she comes back and is like, what are you guys talking about?
And also, you imagine how Brynn, in her confessional, when she had days or weeks to talk about the conversation that she had with Uba, to make the most clear, level-headed version of that conversation she wanted to have. Imagine what she said in the room when it wasn't rehearsed and ready and not clear-cut, that made Raquel want to just clock out after 1 minute. I bet it was the most unpolished shit where they didn't believe her at all. Even worse than what we heard in the confessional when she had time to prepare.
Yeah, because the one in the confessional was did not make sense, and it was pretty clear immediately. So then we get to the morning. It's fucking weird. They remain the wall break. They keep the wall down. They're like, the wall is broken. They show Brynn hanging out with all of the 4 producers on the couch, just gabbing. It's mostly dudes, and she's just talking about the plan for the day, horseback riding or whatever. It's revealed that at 12:45 the night before, she had texted a producer saying, I want to leave in the morning. They're like, okay, there's a flight to JFK. We'll see if we can get you on it. But then in the morning, she was like, actually, I feel okay. Let's just get this shit done, and I can handle it, and I'm fine. She's not acknowledging anything.
Right. And Sai is like, good morning. Do you remember what the hell happened last night? How is she possibly acting this casual on the couch with everyone? So I didn't understand. Brynn wanted to leave. They said, we got you a flight. In the morning, she realizes that she doesn't need to leave. She's fully over it or whatever.
Yeah.
But then Sai was like, you need to leave. So did producers make the decision that, no, Brynn, no matter what you want to do in the morning, you should go. You have to go after what we dealt with last night.
If Kelly Ben Simone was still there in the morning after Scary Island, was just like, what are we doing today? And everyone would be like...
So producers made the decision to let her leave early despite her wanting to stay. I didn't understand that point.
They were
part.
They just decided to end the entire trip early.
Oh, right. But then but Brynn leaves and the rest stay.
Right. But not for long. I think they were supposed to stay even longer. So it says production decides to leave the trip early while waiting for Jessel and Uba's return. Main cameras start filming. When in that morning moment was the first time I realized, I was like, she might get fired.
Brynn.
Yeah.
What made you feel that way?
Because when Sai was like, you have to go, and the fact that they ended the trip early over something that she did, I was like, that means they're taking it seriously. And it reminds me of the only example I can compare it to is the Phaedra sex dungeon lie. And she took years to get back on Bravo after that, and she's the biggest talent we've ever had.
Oh my God. An absolute shining star on every platform.
That was more of a criminal accusation, so that is more serious, whereas this is more just character assassination.
Yeah, it's kind of what level of defamation do we tolerate on these shows? Because it's about defaming character in a way, but usually, it's at a certain level. But this might be to the point where it's too much, where Uba has every right in the world to be like, I will never film with Brynn again, just like how Candy did. I can't.
Yeah. I
can't ruin my life. I was so close to having my life ruined by another cast member. So you're right. I could totally imagine. I wonder if there is any path forward for redemption for Brynn, but I'll save that for the very end. We'll touch on that. But I love that immediately once cameras were on, Jenna was very brave. Jenna was very brave this episode. I was so proud of Jenna. I was actually proud of all the cast members. I was like, you all you made very compelling television altogether. Jenna goes, so we're all in agreement that Uba didn't know. And everyone's like, yeah, that's my read. It's she made it very clear for cameras once we were on the show again that that's what the conclusion that they had come to, not knowing how the footage was going to be handled. Yeah.
And then they, are talking about how I think they each kind of make a joke about something that Brynn framed them for before. Like,
now you know that Aaron goes, now you know that I didn't call you poor.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of a montage of Brynn's twisting of words, which, I mean, that's not new. Like, we watched that already, you know? Like, it's not like something where they released the footage of her lying all along. I'm like, that's what the literal show has been.
Yeah, it's pretty egregious, to be honest. It's pretty bad. It is a detriment to the show already, even before this. It's like just knowing that almost everything Brynn has spun is fake and
it's not fun to watch. It's stupid. You're like, okay,
willfully giving wrong details to create fake conflict is bad entertainment. And the montage they show is like 50 seconds long. It's like, oh my God, we've been dealing with this, you and I personally, watching RHONY for 2 seasons.
Since
watching
the Cheesegate or whatever, episode 1.
Cheesegate was a lie. All this shit was garbage. It just shows that Brynn's entertainment instincts are pure shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what she should get fired for, frankly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but this goes hand in hand. Yeah. It's like it's not the boy who cried wolf, but it is like you were allowed to operate in this world where you were given carte blanche to spin falsehoods about absolutely, everyone in the world, and it just you ended up lying about something that was too big that people couldn't deal with anymore, you know?
It almost felt like, I want to watch the clip again. I almost feel like the second it came out of her mouth, she was like, fuck.
Oh, I think so too.
She was like, oh no.
I totally think so too, because it was a part of not a rant, but it was a part of a monologue, and I felt like she was fired up and she was using all of her evidence and she was really going for it, and then she was like, the producers and everyone know that this is a part of my story, and she wanted to just double down and make it even more impactful in that moment. But I think you're right. I think she was like, oh fuck.
I think if she was typing it instead of saying it, she would have been like, delete, 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 delete. Like, she would have been like, never mind. No, that's too much.
Yeah. And Jenna and Raquel and Jessel could not have been more sympathetic in the moment to learning that fact. They're the most empathetic people on the show. So them being witness to that hurt them so much, you know, and they handle it a different way than other people might. If they heard that, people might have pushed back in the moment or anything else, but they were just like, oh my God, we were in full 100% solidarity to what you said. Yeah. Then, they talk more about everything that we got to witness off camera, and they were talking about how Uba could not have clocked something like that in the conversation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they also, understandably so, almost all of them repeat again and again, we are not doubting Brynn's experience of what happened to her. We're doubting that she told Uba, or that Uba understood what she said. Which, same. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, yes, that is, absolutely, of course, like, for sure. Sai says that Brynn might have lied so much in childhood that it bleeds into adulthood. Sai is really on the side. She says it multiple times. She goes, Brynn needs to see a therapist and talk to someone.
I feel like Sai is a good adversary because she also had a super fucked up, shitty childhood. So she's like, that's not an excuse. You know what I mean? Like, she, had her own issues last season where everyone was like, you need to go to therapy. Like, you're raging out because of your childhood. And she's starting to, like, reckon with that. So I feel like she's a good, like, person to be like, you need to buck up, bitch.
Yeah, no, totally. And then Raquel says, a little bit of a fourth wall break. She goes, we got main titles coming up in a couple of days. What the hell are we going to do? And then Sai or someone says, she's going to be like reaching out to us, like trying to nip this thing in the bud or figure out what we're all saying about this thing. And then right as they're saying that, Brynn texts Aaron and says, like, kind of busted, like right in the moment, and goes, oh, you guys are definitely leaving today too, right? Just like me, right? That has to be what's happening.
You're not talking about me.
Yeah. And then Raquel goes, she's only cares about the screen time or what we're all doing versus what she's doing, which is narcissism 101.
Yeah.
She says about Brynn.
Yeah, like she at no point is like worried about Uba or whatever. And then right after that, Uba and Jessel get back to the house. immediately upon seeing each other, Uba and Aaron start crying and give a hug. Like, it's like very kind of cathartic. Like, everyone is so upset. Everyone is tearful. They tell Uba, like, just so you know, everyone here agrees that you did not know. They tell her how Brynn said maybe she didn't clock it, and she's just like, what?
Yeah. Totally. And then Uba gets upset, and this was, endearing to me. She goes, outside people will say whatever the hell they want, meaning you and I.
Yeah.
RHONY watchers, specifically Amy and Riley. But the people here, you all, believing that I knew this was really hurtful to me, you know. And now you've seen that what Brynn is capable of, that she would leverage something like that to put you all against me. And then they all go, Uba, we know. Yeah. Believe me, we know that was what Brynn was trying to do to you here.
Yeah. And even through that, Uba asks, most importantly, she says, like, most importantly, is Brynn okay? And they're like, oh, she's fine. She's acting like nothing ever happened. So, like, yeah, Brynn did not ask if Uba was okay. And everyone is just, I keep referencing Scary Island because it feels like the way Alex McCord, when Jill enters, it's like, there's been enough drama. Like, they're like, I can't take one more thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then Jessel, they kind of have at the end of this segment, they say, is Brynn a horrible person? No, I don't see her that way. And then Aaron also says, like, good people do bad things sometimes. So they're not fully just like writing Brynn off. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just like, but they're just like, Brynn needs to have some accountability here at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, it is a tricky, nuanced, complicated situation because it's the subject matter. Like, Brynn ultimately is a victim of what happened to her. So it's like, you don't want to like rip her a new one because it's over something that's horrible. But at the same time, you're like, yeah, you cannot do that.
Yeah. I'm trying to like, I completely like separate these incidents, I'm like, Uba has nothing to do with that. But unless it's a result of Brynn's trauma, like, which, you could argue.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to touch it back to like lying as being a defense mechanism or something. So whatever amalgamation of what caused Brynn to do this, still everyone agrees in this one instance, you don't do that. You don't say that about someone else.
It looks like people are not going to be afraid to let it rip at the reunion from what I saw. But it also looks like Uba gets some heat for other stuff, which I'm like, okay.
I kind of felt that, well, they do the main title. I don't know. There's nothing really I liked Uba again. So they're all kind of like, have you talked to Brynn? Aaron goes, are you okay? Brynn goes, no, period. And I was like, what does Brynn think is going on? Like, I guess in her mind, no one rallied to her defense after they knew this, and they more rallied towards Uba. Uba comes in and she says something which I thought was impactful. She goes, I can't even hate Brynn. If I hold on to this grudge, I would never trust anyone. She would cut my wings. So I have to forgive her to move on. And I thought that was kind of beautiful. I was like, it's just too much. She was like, she lost faith in humanity in a way that she never thought that she could by Brynn leveling that accusation. She says something else too, where she was like, I had no idea. What did I do to you for you to say something like this about me? I can't even fathom it.
Yeah. So they're all sort of chit-chatting from their makeup chairs. Sai says she'll never trust Brynn again. They're saying, I don't think Brynn realizes the severity of what happened. Brynn arrives. They like stagger her call time, so she comes last. Mm-hmm. And they have her and Uba on opposite ends for the Apple portion of the photo shoot. Brynn is playing victim in her confessional regarding this event. She's saying, look at everyone's like, look at my hair and makeup. Like, everyone's saying cheese. No one gives a fuck about me. Meanwhile, I'm dying inside. But the footage, I'm like, you're acting the same way as everyone else.
Yeah. No,
like,
totally.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And I'm trying to understand, like, what what doesn't she understand about this? Does she not know how far along they've gone on the road with Uba to believing that Brynn lied, to where she thinks that we're only talking about me telling the world and the other cast members that I suffered this horrible thing? Why is there no rallying around me? They seem to be sympathetic to Uba. I don't understand, because it just... Unless just no one has talked to her and production hasn't talked to her, but she had to talk about it in the confessional. I just don't know if she truly knows where the narrative has gone, and maybe she found out last night. So it's kind of, you just don't understand what Brynn is thinking at this moment. She's not reckoning at all. And then by the time the reunion footage happens, they show her talking to Jessel, and Jessel's like, "How do you feel today?" And Brynn's like, "I think it'll be fine. It's all fine, right?" And Jessel goes, "You think it's fine?" So... You know what I mean? There's some, I don't know what Brynn is thinking about what actually happened in her absence, or if she even knows.
Yeah. Little did I know that I would be excited about the RHONY reunion.
Yeah. And then what I was going to say about you saying Uba gets some heat, for sure. There was like, why did you say like, that stuff about, Puerto Rico or whatever. Yeah. But I know that that's just because reunions have to talk about like an hour's worth of stuff. They have to drudge up everything first. But they haven't.
I am glad that like, as of now, it feels like Raquel will have some juice to get fired up about, which I feel like maybe previously she didn't. I don't know if Rebecca Minkoff will literally ever say shit.
It's she was absolutely.
When Brynn is confessing or like doing her monologue and saying about Uba or whatever, there's a cut where it shifts to behind her and you just see a woman with dark hair standing behind her, and Jimmy goes, "Who the fuck is that?" I was like, I wouldn't expect you to know.
It's not her fault, but she contributed absolutely nothing to this iconic finale. Absolutely nothing. And for sure, she will not be asked back, but no one would expect, even she herself would not expect it. Jenna, you get a little peek. I was seeing how Jenna was talking to Brynn, and she goes, "You trying to spin this is really dark. Don't defend it. Stop talking." So I think that's the only glimpse into how Brynn is going to handle this at the reunion. And I believe that that's Jenna's response, to be like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
She's like finally pissed off enough to say something. She usually, I feel like, doesn't care enough to get in the mix. But she was on, Watch What Happens?
Yes. Her and Bose.
Yeah. And, it was just like silence in the room when they were covering this. Like, I was like, this is so dark. Because Raquel and Jessel were in the audience, and it was just like, he was doing a little bit of a one-on-one with Jenna about it. And they were all just like, yeah, like, it was horrible. We were shocked. Like,
yeah. I was wondering like, why it was Jenna after, but like, it obviously couldn't be Brynn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, it couldn't be.
Well, that's why it's so crazy now, like watching her like post her like, marabou caftan that she wore and like posing for like the reunion. I'm like, what you're gonna have to talk about the reunion is so horrible. Like,
do you think it's just that her relationship with the truth is so nebulous or whatever, ambiguous, that this doesn't register as a bigger falsehood in her mind than anything else she's ever done? I mean, that's one explanation. Or Sai kind of says at one point that she just never holds herself accountable. She does the worst shit in the world and then never apologizes and just pretends like everything's normal after the fact.
Yeah, because with everything else, it felt like show-driven, like, lying about the prank, like the intricacies of the prank. Like, I'm just like, she's like, it always felt like she was trying to spice shit up, even from day one with the catch restaurant or the cheese platter or like whatever. It just felt like she was trying to manipulate the dials on making the show more dramatic, which is obviously like a foolish endeavor and it sucks. But it was always over such stupid ass shit that I didn't really care. But now, it's like, now that it's over something gravely serious, you're like, oh, like maybe you are like, something's wrong with you.
Yeah. So we'll see. I am also, I'm actually excited about the reunion. I wanted to ask you, what does this mean for the future of RHONY for you, that they were able to provide something that, I mean, it's a huge deal, and there's fervor over this finale, just like Andy kind of predicted. So what does it mean?
I don't think it like sets a path forward, because like you said, it's like a sort of a non sequitur, you know, like it's not anything to build off of unless the cast is bonded over this horrible thing. Maybe their relationships will be better next year, potentially without Brynn.
That's kind of a Salt Lake City arc, to be honest.
Yeah.
Once they started bonding over Jen, the first 2 seasons were spotty of Salt Lake City, but then once they had Jen as sort of a villain and they were post Jen, it really solidified the cast.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And also, I'm like, I was like, who would I potentially let go or let? Like, Brynn is obviously an easy option now.
Yeah.
It's a 50-50 call if the producers want to do that. But I was like, I enjoyed Jenna enough. I really enjoy Raquel. The best casting decision they made. My favorite moments of this season were from Uba, so I wouldn't get rid of Uba either. I've always loved Jessel. She's my absolute favorite cast member. So I'm almost like, I don't know who you take away. I mean,
well, you get the free spot. The Rebecca Minkoff is a wild card spot. That's just a freebie.
Yeah, okay. Casting is pretty easy. You get Becca Minkoff off the board. You get someone great who's as compelling as Minkoff. Maybe you demote someone. I don't know. Possibly Saya. So I don't know. It's like all of a sudden it's like RHONY justified its existence in a way because we want to see them potentially reckon with this. So kind of, I don't know, like a last gasp of pure energy for this for this franchise. And it happened right at the end when this season was so bad.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. It literally took they literally clicked the camera off and all hell broke loose.
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously. It's like, wow, you guys are more entertaining off camera than you actually are.
It should just be Summer House style. It's all like security cam.
Yeah, totally. I mean, because we've talked about what their line is for what they're willing to talk about on the show. It seems like they have a 3 out of 10 on the drama scale. You know what I mean? So this finally brought us up to like the 7 or 8 out of 10, and we're floored by it.
Yeah. The little blurbs at the end about what they have coming up next or whatever.
Yeah.
The Jenna one. I just keep mentioning Jimmy because I love watching it with someone that has no clue what the fuck is going on. It was like, I forget what it said, but it was like, Jenna's something, blah, 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 just like her bush. And he was like, what?
Her calendar is pretty full, just like her bush. It's like if you have
he was like, pardon?
It's like I don't remember end titles being like that. In credits, I thought that those end credits hit kind of hard in the flow of it. I was like, those are pretty wild. I like that Brynn because because it's like in Salt Lake City, you don't care about them at all. You don't care because they're just dealing with such a huge thing. But I liked Brynn's. It was like Brynn trained with Ratatouille in France to learn how to cook French food. I was like, yeah, that's what everybody is wondering what she did in the off season.
Yeah, and they were like, but she's not done stirring the pot.
Oh yeah, she is. I think. She said.
Oh, she is.
She goes, even though I was taught how to stir a pot in France, I don't think I'll be doing that metaphorically on the show anymore.
I don't think that's possible.
I don't think so either. How do you feel about our energy and continuing on to Beverly Hills? How do you feel?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Talk about like,
Oh, tell me.
I just am so sick of this text bullshit. And it's so annoying because I just don't care. Like, I don't care enough either way for us to spend this much time dissecting whether or not it's right or wrong, or like whether she's lying about what exactly the implication of that sentence was. I don't care.
I know, but so I feel the exact same way, but I'm like, I don't care as a slippery slope. Like, I don't like when people say it about like stuff that I love. Like, people are like, I don't care. And it's like, well, people do, and I do. So there is stuff though. I mean, usually we enjoy almost every narrative that is presented to us, but I completely concur with you. And I know people do enjoy parsing this text, but I do not care, and I can't see it anymore. And for people who liked the text drama, you got 2 or 3 episodes about it. Can we now end it on the 4th episode of it? I'm so tired of it. And like you just said, I don't even care what the worst implication is of this.
No.
Is the worst implication is that she has a secret relationship with PK. The worst implication is she's having an affair with him. Nobody believes that. The second worst is that she has a secret friendship with PK that is over Dorit's, and she is sacrificing
more loyal
her
to him.
More right. In that instance, I don't care either.
No,
Dorit
you
is
guys
not.
don't even like each other right now.
Why is Dorit fighting for the fact that Kyle broke girl code when she knows that her and Kyle are not good? And last season, 6 months ago, Kyle was saying Dorit and I barely hang out. And Kyle has said, I'm sorry, I'm fired up. Kyle has said 3 or 4 times, I like PK more than Dorit. It's totally fine for her to like PK more than Dorit. I like PK more than Dorit at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, it's basically coming down to the like who wins the friend in the divorce kind of a thing, which I'm always like, it depends.
But why does Dorit care? You don't like Kyle. You're calling her a liar, lying through her teeth. All this shit you've said about Kyle. You're using Kyle as your villain, but you want to make an entire arc about how your friendship should have made this a bigger deal. It just is not working. It is not dramatically working in any way.
I don't need to get into like a PowerPoint about why I have a soft spot for Kyle. I know a lot of people think that she's like holds a double standard and that she doesn't share as much as everyone else. To me, she's the pillar of the series. I will never forget that. You can argue all day. That's how I feel.
Totally. And I have come around with you. When you and I on Turtle Time in the early days, when we hadn't had a Beverly Hills to recap, and I was a more passive watcher of Beverly Hills, I didn't rank Kyle very high because I don't know. Nothing about her stuck in my memory of an iconic diamond holder or whatever. But now, after watching the 2 seasons with you, I realize the greatness of Kyle Richards. So I'm now realizing that she is the face of Beverly Hills. They all know this, and now everyone is coming for her while she is isolated and alone. That is what is happening on this franchise.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, it doesn't have any meat to it because it just feels like people are like, let's like keep harping on her as our thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we're almost like getting to the entire crux of this episode with just this conversation. But I cannot stand how Garcelle and Sutton are treating this. In every confessional, they are literally acting their asses off as if this is the most shocking thing they've ever heard in their lives. They are acting like Shakespearean level acting. Garcelle saying, oh my God, when someone gets fired up that absolutely they are completely in the wrong and doing something evil. It's like, what could be evil about this? What?
Yeah.
What do you think is happening?
She's like, if Kyle meant that she wouldn't share it with production, she would have written that, but she didn't.
Yeah.
And she's like, production likes to see memes too. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and then Bose is, she's a first-time cast member, so I'm giving her a lot of leeway here. She doesn't know how to operate in these instances, but it made no sense when she just demands to see a private text message that Kyle sent PK because she feels left out from the drama of the show. That is not how things work. And she doesn't specifically truly know because she heard it secondhand from Garcelle.
She's never met PK.
Right. And Kyle says it rightfully without breaking the fourth wall. She's like, why is Bose care? Why does she care about this?
No,
why should I ever show?
This is her way in. The episode literally starts with Bose calling Dorit to say, Garcelle told me about the text and it's worse than I thought. Like, you need to investigate this.
It's so
and it's
so
like, what
bad.
What the fuck is this? But Dorit was in the audience for Bose's Watch What Happens guest spot, her performance of a lifetime. So like they're like BFFs. Like it worked. Dorit played her cards right, Yeah,
I mean that's fine. I just it's fine that Dorit gained an ally, but it's like I don't know. I mean, I've seen Dorit's relationship with people over the years, and who knows? It might not be long for this world. She's got such a skewed version of Kyle from Dorit, so I don't doubt it. But Dorit heard from 2 people that. From Erica, she goes, the text message is not a big deal. What the fuck is everybody talking about? Yeah. From Bose, who heard it secondhand, it's the most salacious thing she's ever heard. It sounds like, I am a vault for you, PK. Give me thy secrets and thine shall never be betrayed. It's like, but Dorit, I swear I can't say this enough. Dorit knows that this is not a big deal. And not only that, she doesn't care. This entire season has been built on the fact that she wants to go scorched earth on Kyle because she already has a bad relationship with Kyle. So she wants to make a fucking meal out of every single Kyle related thing because it's providing entertainment in her mind and bumping up her storyline into heaven.
I feel like she maybe thinks that as long as her and Kyle are buddies, she'll always she's historically been more of a sidekick to Kyle. So she's like, the only way to stand on my own is to like completely throw her under the bus.
Yeah, but it sucks that the thing that she's doing to provide entertainment for us to be a center diamond holder is garbage that we don't want to watch. It's boring. Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. It's like Brynn. It's at a much higher level than what Brynn does. But Dorit is trying the exact same thing, creating a fake narrative smokescreen to provide us with entertainment. But unfortunately, we sniff it out like hound dogs. We know that this shit is fake. And that's why it's so boring to watch.
Yeah. I did love that Jennifer Tilly kept calling memes.
I like that too. Someone says she's from Canada, and that's what they say. I was like, holy shit.
She's like, she's sending PK memes.
Yeah. So then I'll just kind of get us to the scene. It's really only one scene that we need to talk about. Yeah. So Bo says, I want to gather everybody for a spa day, but truly my intentions are I'm going to read that fucking text.
Yeah. A Sisterhood Serenity soiree.
Yeah, and it's cool. There's this place called Manly Hands, which I've been to a bunch for massages. It's like they come to your house and they just massage you completely. And they're having it starts out good and everyone is relaxing, but it's, not the most compelling television. Yeah. And then Garcelle goes, I'm kind of just like reveling in this moment. I love what's happening here. And then all of a sudden Dorit goes, Garcelle, can I speak to you for a second? And Garcelle says out loud, oh no. I was like, whoa.
She's like, fuck off. Oh my God. I just want this goddamn massage.
Yes. And then this is when it starts to get a little dumb. Dorit is really gathering allies, which that kind of stuff is entertaining to watch. It's interesting to watch them, what's that called? Gather the troops for their army.
Which I'm like, Garcelle will never fuck with you. Ever.
I don't know. I am at this point, Garcelle's hatred for Kyle, or actually no, her fake outrage at Kyle is going to push Kyle away. And I don't doubt that if Dorit made a couple more pleas, 3 more pleas to Garcelle, I could imagine Garcelle aligning with Dorit just out of convenience because she knows it's more powerful to be against Kyle at this point.
Sure, but you know that she hates her guts.
She hates her. Garcelle just like it's almost like the most interesting dynamic because she just doesn't like Dorit because she talks too much.
She annoys the fuck out of her. She's just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and then this is bad. This is really bad, and it's badly handled by Bose. Bose has been, I swear, 10 out of 10. I have loved almost every scene. She's been home runs for 7 episodes. This was badly managed, so I give her 1 flop zone. She goes, Kyle, I know we're having so much fun, but I have to talk to you about something. It's like, it's so blatant.
Yeah.
And she goes, basically, can I read that text message? I heard you read it to everyone. I really want to read it too. And Kyle is like, this is not how the show works, and I don't want to do this at all, basically. Yeah. And she kind of elaborates on what the text message is. She goes, yeah, I said this thing, about like how PK can always confide in me, but I also said keep sending the memes. And then Sutton perks her ears up, and she goes, that's not all you said. She comes over immediately and crams in on Kyle's side. And Kyle said, I did say the other shit. You just stomped
sitting here yet.
You just stomped into this conversation. Don't do this. Kyle is really upset with the formulation that is going on to make this a scene.
Actress Patrol, she remembered exactly what it said. She said exactly what it said.
Kyle.
From memory, yeah.
Yeah, Kyle did. Yes.
It was correct.
Yeah, she said it. Then Erica is saying, I loved Erica in this moment. I was like, Erica, thank you. Thank you for providing the counter to this. Thank you for, even though you are divided in your loyalty towards Dorit and Kyle, thank you for supporting Kyle in this moment. If it would have been like the OC or whatever, everyone against, I would have been so much more pissed. Erica goes, you need a warrant to search somebody's phones. As the person who's been the most, legally entangled, we shouldn't get into showing each other our phones. I was like, whoa, Salt Lake City. You might want to talk to Heather Gay over there on Salt Lake City.
No, I like Erica's just she's reasonable You know what I mean?
She
like
is.
she's just like, I'm always like, yes, like when, you know, not to get ahead, but when she's talking to Dorit later about the context or the meaning of the text or whatever, Erica basically is saying like, I don't really give a fuck either way, is what she's saying.
She's saying, I'm not going to be involved in this either way anymore because I like you both, so please stop using me. And Kyle's not using Erica, really. Dorit is, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it gets, Kyle is really upset. And then she does have to, no, she gets upset first. Right? She goes, she starts to get really upset. She goes, I feel like I'm being called to the principal's office over this innocuous text. Why do I keep having to read this? Why are people keep calling me out for this? So she says, sorry, go ahead.
Someone in our comments did point out, which I did notice upon looking at it. I don't care still, but it's a screenshot of the text. So like you couldn't go further in either direction.
PK, I'm starting to become sexually attracted to you because of the memes that you're sending. Is there any way you would cheat on Dorit before the end of your marriage? Or, PK, I love you so much more than Dorit. I find Dorit to be abhorrent, and I don't like spending time with her. She talks too much, she's very vapid, and I dislike her company. But I love you. You're like a British brother that I have, and you remind me of Lisa Vanderpump and the camaraderie we had. So, please, for the love of God, can you still be my friend?
Right. Yeah, so she's getting so pissed off. She's like, she's crying. She's like, they're making me look like I did something wrong.
I don't like seeing Kyle cry. No. I realize I must really love someone vicariously through the screen because I was upset when Kyle was giving the sad speech.
I also wanted to say, so right when Kyle first gets there and then Dorit comes, Dorit sort of like makes a jab at what she's wearing. Like she's like, oh, is that your comfy outfit? And then in her confessional, Dorit's like, well, that dress is from 2004. And Kyle's like, I'm not so bored that every day is a fashion show for me. I was like, ooh. But I just did want to say that when Kyle got out of her car and walked to Bose's house, I was like, oh, I was like, she's gotten a little more like chill about what she wears. Like she was wearing Birkenstocks with the gown or like,
was that a chill outfit?
Yeah. But then my secondary thought was she wore Birkenstocks because she knows she has to take her shoes off at Bose's house anyway.
Kyle learned from the first instance when she went over there that she can wear whatever the fuck she wants on her feet. I said to myself, and now to you, I said, Kyle is ignoring the dress memos on two different occasions. I didn't know that was a comfy dress, but the fact that she bought it in 2004, Dorita's saying it must be pretty lived in. The fabric is a lot softer from Kyle rolling around in it for years.
She's saying it's like dated, like you look like shit is what she was saying.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely noteworthy. But I thought that was an actual dress. I thought that Kyle did just completely miss the memo. A comfortable dress? I
think Dorit was saying like it's not stylish.
Yeah, but did Kyle miss the comfy memo?
I think Dorit was saying, "Oh, you did dress comfy." Like I think she was saying, "Oh, you did comfy, all right."
I thought at first she goes, "Is that comfy?" Because I thought it wouldn't look comfy to me. You saw comfort in that.
I took it as like Dorit was saying, like, "Yeah, you really like wore something from the back of the closet." That's what I took it as.
Okay, yeah. So she gets that little that barb out. Then Kyle gives her sad speech, and this is when I'm like, okay, here's a reality injection. We're getting the cloud of where you don't know what is going on. Kyle goes, Dorit, you know I love you. I love PK. I love your kids. And Dorit goes, I know you do. It's like, you know she does? Then why the fuck are you putting her through all this shit? You know what I mean? It's so once Kyle got real, it's like, you know I love you. You know I'm not doing anything wrong. And then Kyle goes, well, Bose made it weird, so I guess I'll read it. And Dorit goes, just read it. Like, really patronizing, kind of a snotty way of saying. And then Kyle says, she reads the text, and she goes, just so you know, when I said I won't release the secrets from the vault, I didn't mean to you, Dorit. I meant to all of this. And we get a wonderful fourth wall break all of the productions. I meant production, but I couldn't say that on camera at Chuck E. Cheese because I don't want to break the fourth wall. But that's what I meant. And this is when people, everyone, the world, Little Turtle Cuties, Villa Rosa VIPs, us, can dissect the true nuance of this. Do we believe that... I mean, I know we don't care ultimately, but it's do you believe that Kyle meant production versus Kyle meant Dorit? And I could almost argue that maybe she did mean Dorit, but it still doesn't matter to me as an infraction on their friendship because of what I already said.
Yeah, I agree. I would say this was the first time that I was like, because she did seem like her argument was a little bit weak against it. Like once it was like truly scrutinized, she was like, I didn't mean you. And I was a little bit like, I don't know if I believe you, but again, I don't care. But, and I, like you said, I don't think Dorit really cares either. Garcelle is in her confessional saying how like she would have said production if she meant production. Kyle's so pissed off. She's like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. She storms off.
Fuck all of you. Also, she said right before she left in her screaming, she goes, fuck you all. And just so you know, PK gets mad if you don't respond to any of his memes. So that means that PK, when he sends a meme, he sends ... or hey, did you see this?
He puts the exclamations on stuff he's already sent.
Yeah. Or is the internet bad at your house and you didn't see this already? So apparently PK gets pissed.
She put, because the last thing she said, which I didn't understand what it meant before, it was like, and I won't forget and it was like the crying laughing responses, because he's like, hello, I sent you memes, where is my haha react, bitch?
And we got a little clue into what kind of the PK meme challenge that you and I want to do. She goes, this one was sent in April around April Fool's Day. So I was like, oh, okay. So some holiday stuff, maybe on a holiday, if you send the perfect thing that encapsulates that holiday, potentially
it's
you would
National Coffee Day.
Totally. Some of that kind of shit. It was great to know that, there was some context for why he sent that. Then again, what we already talked about, Bose goes, the more Kyle freaks out about this, the more I know she is wrong. And I'm like, that is a horrible take. Yeah. The more people get mad and upset means that they're wrong. It's she doth protest too much, taken very in the wrong manner. It's like, no, she is actually tired of talking about this and getting upset about the implication of what you were all insinuating about her relationship with PK, in my opinion. And
she has like producer brain, and she's like, it's like when remember when Candace Giselle was trying to frame her husband, and she goes, I'm not doing this storyline. I will not participate in this storyline. I feel like Kyle's like, fuck all of you. You're not framing me.
That
fuck
is what
this.
It is. That's exactly what it is. Erica completely understands. She's the sympathetic ear while everyone else says how awful Kyle is being and how horrible this is. Garcelle goes, does this scream guilty? Yeah, it does. Guilty. Like, guilty?
I'm like, Garcelle, have you literally done anything fun in your life on this show? Sorry. I'm like annoyed. I'm like, if I go to your beach house one more time, I'm going to like slit my wrist. I'm sorry. I don't care about your beach house. I really don't. Like, do something fun. Like, go on a date. Like, do anything.
Yeah, and it only is reinforced. I enjoy Garcelle, but it only shows the dearth of entertainment we're getting because you're making me mad at you for making such a huge deal about this wrongly. It now puts the focus on you. Like, you can only make storylines about someone else because you're not being entertaining on your own. Sutton is really doing that this season too. I love Sutton. People say sometimes like, how the fuck do you like Sutton? I really like Sutton. I think she's such a fun, unique personality on the show, but she is also spinning her wheels on this thing, gathering up dust, wondering where her next storyline is going to come from. She is not having a great season at all.
No. Yeah. Okay. So then, Dorit follows Kyle out. They're in their robes, just on the streets of, I think they showed that she lives in Hancock Park. It looked like a lovely street. Mm-hmm. She also mentioned they did question Bose on Watch What Happens about her losing her beach house. And she said, not only did I lose the beach house, but it had a code on the door, and all my friends were allowed to just come type in the code and use it whenever they wanted. And I'm like, we could have had the code.
I was just getting ready to say that. Could you imagine when Bose, like when she texts us again and she just goes 4113, and we're like,
It could
we'll
be
be
the
right
new
over.
Villa Rosa shit. We could have just typed in and then done it on the PCH.
We have so many Bravo Liberty second houses to possibly live in. That one, unfortunately, that was probably the closest we could have had. But we have Jennifer Tilly's haunted mansion that's right next door to hers.
Yeah,
Obviously,
in
we
Bel
have the
Air.
shed at Villa Rosa, and I think that we can just accumulating more and more spots to party and record.
Tamra's Big Bear House.
That is like the easiest thing. Just Eddie say, hey, Eddie, go out on the motorcycle for a little bit. We need to record Turtle Time in your beautiful, beautiful Big Bear cabin.
Yes.
Yeah. So then I loved this. This was an enticing moment to me. So they're talking. Kyle reiterates that PK is like a brother to me, but if you would have told me emphatically that you don't want me to talk to him, I would have stuck with you. And Dorit goes, well, you know what? The reason why this is all coming out is because PK screams his ass off at me. I call him PK the monster when no one is around. I tell everyone, or she doesn't tell everyone. She goes, I call him the monster when the monster rears his head. And Kyle, to Dorit's face, goes, I can't imagine PK screaming. You know, that's so interesting. And then I love her confessional. I was like, thank you, Kyle. You are pushing back on this nonsense. She goes, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but it's really hard to visualize PK screaming his ass off at Dorit. She goes, is Dorit possibly taking advantage of this moment while PK is not able to defend himself? Well, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that I've never seen it. And we already talked about how Dorit has been sort of having her way with presenting PK on this show. 4-hour therapy sessions where he screams his ass off and slams the door, drinking to oblivion, blacking out, now screaming like a monster at her. Kyle just opened the door to, are we getting a Dorit influenced edit of PK's behavior?
Risky stance to take. I'll say that. But she also said that she always found that Dorit wore the pants, which, did you feel that way watching it?
I don't realize I never thought about PK and Dorit's relationship before this. I thought that they were a bad match. I've already said this. They didn't have a lot of camaraderie. I mean, I loved that not a prank that he pulled on her, that anniversary dinner where he made her pretty woman. But I don't know.
I think that might have been the beginning of the end, because remember Julia Roberts was on Watch What Happens Live and she like publicly shamed him for renting the jewelry. She was like, if you're going to do something like that, the gift is the jewels. And
right.
Like the fact that she had to give him back is like horrible.
That probably made Dorit so upset that one of her heroes, Julia Roberts, said that. I don't know about Dorit wearing the pants, but I know that Kyle knows them much better than us, and I kind of glaze my eyes, roll back in my head whenever I was watching them and their relationship. So I believe that Kyle knows. You mean it's risky because it's not a believe Dorit moment?
Yeah, but
well, I'll just say to counter that. Oh gosh, yeah, we are in tricky territory. I just think that I know that Dorit sometimes does spin the truth. I mean, it's to a lesser degree than Brynn by tenfold, but still, I was thinking, is it quite possible that Dorit wants to paint PK in a certain light because he's not there to defend himself?
Yeah.
I thought that.
I mean, I think there is a degree of that happening, but also PK said out of his own mouth, like, if we talked to the waiter the way we talk to each other, we'd get thrown out. Like, they both agree that they talk like absolute shit to each other. So
all right.
I think it's a two-way street, but it's not like I don't believe that he gets pissed and says horrible shit to her. So
me neither. So it could be red meat for Kyle haters to be like, oh, you're taking PK's side. It's like you're even breaking girl code even more. But unfortunately for me, I'm more on the fence about how to feel about this. And we kind of alluded to maybe these aren't the most accurate stories. I mean, the therapy story sounded almost ridiculous. A 4-hour session that he screamed at the therapist and slammed the door. Even if it's true, the kernel of truth, I do think Dorit exaggerates. That's part of her personality, you know.
And like the fact that on like episode 1, she told Bose that her husband was an alcoholic. Like she is coming in guns blazing painting a story to be on her own path to being an independent woman. I'm just saying, regardless of what merit it has, it was knives thrown by Kyle. That's going to be hard to come back from.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I was like, okay, well, Kyle just struck back in a huge way towards Dorit. And then I did think that it was just kind of interesting when Dorit goes, she kind of pokes holes in Kyle's thing, like that you only shared memes or whatever, like you would never share anything about your relationship. And Kyle has this like mumbling that I've never heard before. Did you notice that? Where I couldn't really understand what she was saying. And I was like, if that's one of Kyle's tells that she may not be being honest, I've never heard her do that before. It was kind of odd to me.
Well, I'm just annoyed by the fact that she's like, yeah, we generally just like send each other memes. Like it's a pretty like casual thing. And then her example she sent was obviously after announcement of separation. So like that is the time you're going to send a more like intimate style text.
Totally.
That doesn't mean that you talk like that all the time. And so everyone was like, that's more than memes. That's more than memes. And I'm like, okay, but it was literally being like checking in with you after your public announcement of your separation. Like, what is she going to send? Like a, like, fuck Jerry? Like, yeah, like you gonna like, you say something like that. And then, but generally it's like, yeah, like I have friends who I have casual meme relationships too. But then if they post something on Instagram that horrible happened, I'm going to like say something more serious.
Me too. You reinforce that you're their friend too, even though it seems like you might be on the other side. Also, Dorit and PK are just separated. They've barely even hinted at divorce. You know what I mean? So I don't see it as this egregious over the line behavior. They're not even officially split yet.
Right.
Right? I mean,
I did like that the picture that Dorit painted where she was like, when PK would go out and drink and then go to Mo and Kyle's house, he would talk shit about me. And she was implying that he would go to their house and they would all talk shit about Dorit.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, right? And then Kyle says kind of the nail in the coffin for this storyline for me. She goes, Dorit got exactly what she wanted. Everyone is now talking about this very stupid text message for the last 4 episodes instead of her being a shitty friend to me. And it's completely true in my mind that Dorit is loving this opportunity to change the narrative. I liked when Jennifer Tilly at one point, she goes, I wonder if there's any delicious coffee in the kitchen for me to have. Did you like that part?
Yeah, she's funny. I like her little, when she was getting her massage, she was like, just you wait, this will end very poorly. There will be horrible drama. Yeah. And then at the end, she's like, it's not a successful party unless someone leaves crying.
Yeah, Sutton has a 10 out of 10 flame out with Dorit really quick. I just want to note it. Sutton goes, just so you know, we're not friends, but, we could talk at some point. And Dorit goes, thanks. So we got some yummy food over here. And Erica goes, acknowledge what she said. You just said yummy food. And then Dorit's like, no, I said thanks. I acknowledge it. And I was just like,
what is Sutton's like weird ass thing where she wants to do this sisterhood thing this season? And it's like, no one likes each other. Just move on. Like, get over it.
Yeah, I think Sutton came in with her center diamond holder ambitions, and that shit flamed out majorly. Yeah. So now she's spiraling, trying to have scenes. And Dorit said, I just had an impactful 10 out of 10 conversation with Kyle where Kyle cried to me. I'm not giving you 1 second of my energy. And that's what that was. Yeah, and then Sutton just kind of Sutton just goes, huh. And then back to Garcelle and Sutton. And I'm more steamed. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Sutton goes, and another thing with Garcelle. I'm mad that Kyle stormed out on us. It's like, you can storm out. This is all of us talking about stuff. I'm even more pissed, and you better believe I'm going to have words with her. And I was like,
she compared it to the Magic Mike storm out that she did. And I'm like, not the same at all. Like, you made a fool of yourself that night. And that was literally over nothing. Like, no one did anything to you. She stormed out because everyone was ganging up on her. You stormed out because you had some weird hang up about being on the American Ballet Theater board. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. top 10 most embarrassing moments for her. It's not at all the same. And then I hated this. They're just talking about, we hate Kyle. We hate Kyle. Kyle is awful, basically. Yeah. And Sutton goes, and I will not bow down to the altar of Kyle Richards. And I was like, that was in the trailer. I thought that would be so much more iconic. What the hell did Kyle do? I assumed Sutton was going to have an amazing season so far. I could not believe that iconic line, just with context, is a complete flop in every way. Norman's here.
There's a little Norman appearance. Sorry, honey, you can't be here.
Did you feel that? Oh, I'm so sorry, Norman. Did you feel the same way where it was like, that was the line?
I know.
It was for nothing?
Yeah, she goes, I, Sutton Strack, am not going to bow down at the altar of Kyle Richards. And I'm like, because she left the party crying.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sutton. This has nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, she's like, they were basically saying that Kyle thinks she's above the show, I think is what they were saying. And I was like, she is the show, bitch. And don't you forget it.
This is Kyle and Friends. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then we get unless there's anything to say there, but
Did you see Dorit's Jeep commercial?
Oh my God, it was awesome. I had so many thoughts. First of all, it was so long.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, we're getting a huge thing. And it was that she didn't want to buy a property.
Sold on SLC.
She didn't care about buying a property. She loved that electric vehicle that she was in, and that's what she wanted to purchase. Was that the intent?
Yeah, she kept being like, I'll take it. Not the house, the Jeep.
I was thinking, whose job of the Salt Lake City cast did Dorit just come in and steal?
Seriously, it didn't even make sense.
Heather Gay shopping for a new house? Lisa Barlow? Why was it Dorit that was chosen to ride around in an EV in Salt Lake City for this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was great. Dorit was acting her ass off versus the sold on SLC. I was like, this is very bad acting, unfortunately, but Dorit was doing a great job on that.
Yeah, it was funny. And yeah, it closes out with Erica and Dorit getting facials at Biologique Recherche. Very fancy, very nice.
You know that place?
I've never been there, but I use their products, and I mean, they made it look so luxurious. I was like, I gotta go there. But that's probably like a $400 facial.
Do you want the next good thing that happens to you and I down the road? Do you want to go to, what's it called?
Biologique Recherche.
Let's keep that in mind. You know, for the future. Okay, so Dorit this scene is about Dorit saying, Erica, aren't you like everyone else where you think this is horrible? I need absolutely everyone to hate Kyle and be on my side, especially my most loyal, staunchest ally, because I don't really give a shit if Sutton and Garcelle are on my side. I don't really like them. I need you to be on my side. And Erica goes, I'm not on anyone's side. I fully see the validity of what Kyle is saying. I believe that you're offended, but unless you have proof that is what Kyle meant, I am not going to double down and say that I am on your side in this. But she does say, she gives Erica a little bone, Erica throws Dorit a little bone, and she goes, if it does turn out that it was about you specifically, then yes, I will be mad with you. So she gives her something.
Yeah, Dorit's like, if it does turn out it's the other thing, will you care? Will you be okay with that? And Erica's like, I guess not. But yeah, she's like, I'm happy to give Kyle benefit of the doubt. Like, no one gave me fucking benefit of the doubt. So I do like that Erica's point of view is painted through her horrible experience with everyone just throwing her under the bus. And I am glad. I mean, you know, I don't like to think too deeply about like what she did wrong, because I know there can be a case made against her about, there's like that horrible thing where she like sued that they like pulled their Amex from that costume designer, and he like ruined his business. So I know there are arguments to be made. She's not perfect, but that season I was like, I felt bad for her that everyone was so afraid to touch her with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Like it sucked. Like, you know, everyone was so high and mighty like the whole time, and it's like, okay, but like she's supposedly your friend.
Yeah, you know, she has one of the best redemption arcs in all of Bravo. I mean, she was down and out legally, sued for millions, having stories about her where she's stealing earrings from the vault of the victims or whatever. Like she was down and out. No one wants to touch her with a 10-foot pole, and she came back to where we barely. That's a footnote. I mean, I respect Erica's opinion so much, and I actually think she has an amazing moral compass, which people will laugh at. But in all of these instances, like you already said, I love that Erica is there to properly assess things and not let loyalty get in the way of the truth that she feels. So I love Erica, and I honestly cannot imagine Beverly Hills without Erica. I was like thinking of this. I was like, I don't care what Erica does. Do your cabana with Martin Lawrence Bullard. Do anything. You are a fixture. I just can see you. You are the sixth cast member of Beverly Hills forever. I would almost say that about Dorit, but I'm starting to get mad at Dorit because when the attention's on Dorit, she's flopping like a fish. But I used to think Dorit was also just a fixture. You have to have her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say when I did my last rewatch of Beverly Hills, whenever that was a few years ago, I watched it straight through, like binge style. And I'm not blaming Dorit for this, but the season she joined was when it stopped being as good.
No. She was so awful. I remember the moment when I started thinking Beverly Hills felt fake, and it was a conversation between Eileen Davidson and Dorit, where Eileen was having this, like, Eileen was awful on Beverly Hills. Oh my God, don't get me started. But it was kind of crowded out by how good the talent was. But then when Dorit came in, she tried to like hand Eileen Davidson her ass in the scene, and it was like completely fake, performative. I already talked about how the Camille thing screaming the C-bomb at her was horrible. I did not enjoy Dorit's presence for so long, and she is hand in hand responsible with Lisa Rinna for the downfall, the dark era of Beverly Hills, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, Erica, I always remember because she started as Yolanda's friend, and she was very like buttoned up for the most part, except for when they were like, wow, she has this other sexy side. But when the day-to-day stuff, she was very like, you know, like a respectable, like cool, like good friend. She like supported Yolanda through her medical stuff. Like she was just like a nice lady.
Erica was the only one that Lisa Vanderpump was afraid of.
Yeah.
When Erica came in, Erica had such confidence and power that Lisa Vanderpump was scared because she saw a power shift in just how cool and calm, but also like had that personality, you know, that she had. So I remember like there was a huge dynamic shift, and I remember Erica just didn't fuck with Lisa Vanderpump, and Lisa was like kind of shocked that people didn't bow down to her in this format, so that was amazing.
I'm an OG Erica.
Yeah, I want to say that if you absolutely abhor Kyle Richards, you will use all the evidence you can to be like, look how bad Kyle is dealing with this. And you and I are less objective because we enjoy Kyle, but we're trying to also be objective and remark on Kyle's flaws throughout this whole thing. But if you are just saying absolutely everything that Kyle is doing is horrible, they're all right to react, this is the biggest violation of girl code, just try to separate your hatred or whatever you think about Kyle Richards, that she's boring or whatever, and just see if on the facts you would still think about this. And the same goes for Lisa Barlow on Salt Lake City. I noticed that when you and I were rallying for Lisa Barlow, being like, that was a new low, people are like, well, we hate Lisa Barlow, so why can't she deal with this like everybody else did? It's like, try to take the energy that you hate someone and just view them objectively of how you would feel if this was like your favorite cast member. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like a hatred for Kyle is getting caught up in how people are analyzing this season. And hopefully we're not too biased where it's hard to listen to. I hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen that Kim Richards Sir moment has been viral on TikTok when she's like, I want to have a baby. No, I want to travel. It's like a trending sound.
No, will you send it to me? Was that the same instance where she was in the bathroom, unfortunately for a little bit?
Yeah. What party was that? I think Cedric was there. It was like early days. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when, I think that was the same season they go to Hawaii and Mauricio like pops off on Kim and whatever her boyfriend's name was because they show up late and like miss their flight. And
oh my God.
It's like such chaos.
Oh yeah. I'm going to watch that again. Please send me that viral moment, please. Okay. How do you feel? Should we rip through?
Yeah, let's just do like a little Potomac moment. You know, it's pretty, I feel like we can just talk about the highlights.
Turtle time check. How are we doing?
Good.
All right.
Gold.
I feel like we talked more about Beverly Hills than I actually thought, just because you're as fired up as me, and we didn't know we'd have a meeting of the mind, so it spurred a lot. But so let's talk about Potomac. Potomac was by far the least entertaining of these 3 episodes. Beverly Hills has a lot to talk about. Potomac was like they gave us just I don't know one. I think in conjunct or in contrast to the others, it seemed especially boring. It was just pretty bad. I mean, not good.
Were
at
you
all.
shocked by the revelation that Gordon has gout?
Oh, okay. So it has an amazing scene, but it starts out basically with an amazing scene where Ray and Gordon have sort of a huge meeting at this place called, I don't know what it was called, where you can get lobster and everything. And I love that the first 3 minutes were about the weather outside. They go, "Oh my God, get me to the air conditioning ASAP." And he goes, "I love air conditioning. I think we're having warmer weather this time of year." And
Ray's like, "It used to be that the hottest time of the day was around noon or 1, but I've noticed that's not the case anymore, or maybe my point of view has just changed." I was like, "Hello?"
Gordon goes, like you said, he goes, I gotta say, Ray, do you mind for a second? My toes start to ache in the heat because I have gout, unfortunately. and then he goes, "Hey, Ray, and also I've got a hack about the sun. I'm so silly and kind of, frugal that I don't let my kids go out in the sun. I wait till the shade so I don't have to spend money on sunscreen."
He's like, "I'm pitching pennies." And Ray was like, "Okay."
Because it's so unique in the Bravo universe, I really, really enjoy this. I know people will think it's very boring, but they did a lot of work. They did a lot of work in the scene after they get the small talk out of the way.
I mean, I guess it was a creative way to get his side of the story, because you're never going to get it when he's with Mia, which is his only way in usually.
Absolutely. That is exactly why this scene, what it spawned from. But Gordon reveals, I mean, I can go through it. He says to Ray is like eating, I think lobster tail or whatever. And Gordon goes, "Guess what? The divorce is on hold. We're thinking about our marriage. We might go to post-marital counseling." And Ray is kind of just treating this like it's a normal conversation. He's like, "That's good. That's good." He's not acknowledging the dramatic weight of all of these things that Gordon is saying to him,
Yeah. He's like, "I heard there was some drama about you picking up the kids without like her permission or whatever." And he's like, "I felt like whoever they were with, there were some questionable things going on, so I picked them up." And he's like, "By the way, I had them 25 out of 30 days in June. So like her acting like it's like inappropriate for me to like pick them up or have them with me is," he was saying it was BS because he has them most of the time, he was saying.
Yeah, so this is sort of a producer's attempt to get Gordon's side of the story because they know Mia is kind of running rampant and potentially being called out in lies. So we need to hear Gordon without the context of Mia. And it's sort of like the scene that the PK and Mauricio scene should have been on Beverly Hills. We were supposed to get PK's side, but they kind of flopped with that scene. So now we're getting the Gordon side. He also goes, "And just so you know," Ray goes, "Was there a question, I'm trying to remember, from the reunion where maybe possibly you weren't the father of, is it Jeremiah?" Mm-hmm. And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I did a paternity test on that. You don't need the mother's approval for that one." And then Ray goes, "So who is the father?" And he goes, "I'm the father." So it's like, whoa, we got a huge reveal from Gordon to Ray at this lunch.
Which, not to jump ahead, but at the very end, Jacqueline says it was an at-home test, which I'm like, how does that even work?
Yeah, at-home paternity test, like Everlywell.
Like from Dollar Tree.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking, Dollar Tree. But at-home paternity test. Take a hair of your child, put it in
swirl it around
in a thing of goo, and send it back to us, and we'll tell you if it matches. I mean,
that's fine, I guess. I was thinking the results were at home, like a COVID test.
Oh, if blue, the child is for you. If yellow,
if pink, if your household stinks.
If pink, it's ink.
That's good.
Okay. So then, no, I was thinking Everly Well or something, but I was like, you can do that paternity test at home. But regardless of whatever Gordon was trying to say, I believe that this is an open and shut case in their household. And Mia has been teasing. Speaking of lying, this is the lying episode. We have 3 liars back to back. Dorit, the least egregious. Mia is a liar. We have to classify her like that. She wants to make the most of this storyline, and she's using she's milking this for all it's worth, even though she knows the truth.
Also, when they're on the paternity topic, Ray is like, when Karen was pregnant with Raven, she was kind of saying, blue eyes run in my family. And I was like, is he like joking? Or did she really say that?
Wow. I didn't understand the gravity. I didn't understand what Ray was saying. I thought he meant that he was calling to mind the blue-eyed accusations, thinking that they might have a child with blue eyes. I didn't understand that he said that Karen forewarned him that could be the case. I think
that's what he said.
Whoa.
Like, that she was like, just so you know, like, if the baby comes out with blue eyes, like, that runs in our family.
Whoa. You know what's really interesting is how the cast just all admit every second that Karen cheats on Ray, and it's like Giselle can't stop saying it.
She's like, we already know that. Move on.
It's like she cheats all the time, and now given Karen's reputation with the truth and how she doesn't want anything bad to appear on camera, I'm almost like, whoa, what have you been hiding about this? Is it actually true that you just cheat on Ray all of the time? Like, we don't know. Those are the biggest revelations.
I'll just do like quick bullet points. Stacey lawyers up because this lawyer, I did enjoy, the lawyer was like, I know you trust your ex, but you shouldn't ever, and you need to put this shit in writing. And she's starting to realize that she's being naive about her divorce.
She was a great mediator, though, by the way.
Yeah.
Stacey goes, how many people come back to you wanting to adjust or wish they would have adjusted their thing to get child support? And she goes, if I had $5 for every time, I would be retired on a beach and I never have to work again in my life. Yeah. Stacey was floored by that because I cannot believe
that lady.
Me too. She was amazing.
There's a cute scene with Giselle and her daughters at the Container Store. She says she's going to buy an investment property by her daughter's college so that they can just go stay there. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess if you got the cash, you could just buy a house wherever you want.
Yeah, totally.
And then Stacey and TJ have a lunch, which I guess, did you feel differently about him after this, or do you not believe him?
Yeah. Well, how much, I'll just break the fourth wall. How much time do you have, Amy, on your side?
We're good.
We are? Okay, good. All right. So I'm gonna elaborate a little bit. So Stacey and TJ, I thought this was remarkable to me because I thought that TJ was the one who was withdrawn from Stacey because he's like, I'm not gonna have sex with you. I only sleep with my Bugs Bunny stuffed animal. I thought that he was the one who was being best friends or not being intimate until Stacey was ready. Full reversal. We learned that Stacey, because she's still in the midst of divorce, she doesn't want TJ to ever stay at her home. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to call them in a relationship because she doesn't want to disturb what she has with her ex. It sounds like she has a lot of reverence for her ex-husband, or she doesn't want to stir up the beehive during the divorce proceedings or whatever. So I was very astonished to learn that Stacey was the one putting the brakes and TJ was the one going, I want you to acknowledge me and acknowledge to your husband that we're in a relationship. I was like, where did this come from? I had no idea that was happening. She's basically
the opposite of Mia. Like, she's trying to play her divorce as cleanly as humanly possible, which I respect. Like,
me too.
Yeah, like, it is like a thoughtful and nice thing to be like, maybe I shouldn't have a new man in my house when he's only been gone for like a minute and like my daughter is still adjusting. Like, that's like a respectful way to play it.
I loved it. TJ was like, when can I start sleeping at your house? Come on. And she goes, I don't want that still. Please give me time.
Yeah.
And then TJ, he has, I have to say this, but he has a lot of hostility in how he talks to Stacey. I haven't forgotten his horrible behavior at the Wendy's 40th birthday party.
Yeah.
He still has that trait. I'm like, Stacey, I still do not like this relationship for you. You are one of the nicest people I've ever seen on camera. Like, like amazing. And I'm speaking through as an audience person, but I just do not, I'm worried about this relationship and I still am. And then he goes full blown, oh my God, I thought actor.
Yeah,
Shakespeare, well, not a Shakespearean, like
Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives acting. He goes, I can't believe I just pressured you back there. If you need time, you better fucking believe I'll be a clock on the wall waiting for you.
You're not in limbo.
You're not in limbo. And then Stacey I was like, did she just think that was lame? She goes, oh, TJ, this is what I love about you. She goes, you're amazing. And he goes, I know. And then he goes, I had to pull a Han Solo there, which I kind of like that, a reference to Han Solo, because Han Solo famously says, I know, after Carrie Fisher says, I love you, right before he goes in the what is it? Carbonite.
Uh-huh. He gets out though, right?
He does. Luke and Leia and a bunch of other people are able to free him from Jabba's palace.
Good.
In Return of the Jedi.
Yes. So this is a non sequitur, but remember when Luke has to go in the goo because he gets frozen in Empire Strikes Back?
Oh, yeah, totally.
I used to find that very upsetting when I was small.
Oh, really? Just see Luke kind of going like this, going...
And he's like only in his like space undies. And I was like, what is happening?
It's very upsetting.
He also looks a little different because didn't he get in that horrible car accident in between the movies?
I was
like, he looks different and I don't know why, and it makes me uncomfortable.
I was just going to say it. I was going to give you Star Wars lore and you beat me to the punch. He got road rash on his face because he fell off a motorcycle. So they had to have him being clawed by a wampa right before, so it looks why his face is all completely fucked up, which he does look different. And then I was watching, sorry, one last thing, I swear, 20-second anecdote. They reinvigorated Luke for a Disney television show, but they made him look young, and behind the scenes they go, it was really hard to recreate him with our CGI because Mark Hamill looks so different in every single scene. You can't pinpoint what Mark Hamill looks like because his face just completely is like different shapes and different features in different light and instances. I was like, whoa, that's an interesting thing to learn about someone. That's why you probably had that reaction.
Yeah, like I was just like, something's wrong.
Something was majorly wrong. Wampa attack. Okay, and then I can lead us out of this to the final pivotal scene. But really, I mean, we're not skimping on this Potomac. It was pretty doldrums, bad. Yeah. But one thing that they kind of tease in there, which is interesting, is that Karen is so thin and she's so tired. And they show the instances of Karen sleeping on their trip. And Giselle goes, I thought for sure it was just because she's going through this court shit. And Kay goes, no, she's on Ozempic.
And they're like, no, I asked her and she said she wasn't. And she was like, no, she told me that she's pre-diabetic. Which I think this is the first full-blown medical style conversation about Ozempic. We've had like Crystal talked about how on Beverly Hills how triggering it was that everyone all of a sudden got rail thin in between seasons.
Jackie.
Yeah. I feel like Dolores said on Watch What Happens Live definitively that she was on it.
She said everyone is on it.
Yeah, she's like
Dolores is Dolores is the one who opened the floodgates for me into realizing that's the reality. She goes, every single person on Bravo or in the Housewives franchise is on Ozempic.
Yeah, so I did kind of appreciate. I mean, again, I'm like, who fucking cares? Like, that should just be assumed at this point. And also, like, I don't give a fuck. And she brought in the fact that she has like a family history of diabetes or whatever. So Kay, and then they had the whole conversation about, she called it I love the calling it semaglutide, because that's always what I call it, because people it's such a semantics thing where people are obsessed with Ozempic because that's like the main one, but there's like Mounjaro, there's Zepbound, there's like 5 different ones. And so she's just like, I'm on semaglutide, and Kay's like, that's the active ingredient, and Giselle's like, so it's Ozempic.
Yeah. So you're on Ozempic because you want to be on Ozempic to combat diabetes potentially, which is like the use for Ozempic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like,
who was it Wendy or who made the annoying comment where they're like, isn't there other ways to like avoid diabetes? I'm like, well, this is one way, so who cares? Yeah,
let her do it. And also, this was a little late for an Ozempic storyline. They should have just assumed. But Karen's reaction to it was kind of like pure Karen, where I'm like, oh man, I didn't remember that Karen cannot be called out. Like, I didn't remember this. What is this? What is that called? Like when you just cannot account for your behavior. She does it again with Ozempic. She has to make some big deal. She can't just say, I'm on Ozempic because I want to be on it.
Yeah.
It's just like the DUI shit. So
wait, also, did you notice? So this scene is happening at the Drag King show for Ashley. Right. And by the way, it's like broad daylight. And like Kay shows up wearing like her ass is completely out. It's the most like after dark outfit I've ever seen. And it's like 3 p.m. or something. Did you notice one of the drag queens' names?
No, what was it?
Drew, sort of spelled like French style, like Druex, Sidora.
No way.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Wait, did they fully announce that name?
Yeah, it was on the lower third, Drew Sidora.
Wow. Oh my God. I've been thinking about Drew Sidora lately because Phaedra said she's a complete flop and she hated working with her on Atlanta.
Oh shit. Find that.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Also, I think Ashley said, I want my drag king persona to be American Psycho inspired. Do you remember that?
Interesting.
Yeah. So we didn't say that Karen got the download from Ray, and Ray did the thing where it's a game of telephone where he's just like, he's saying what he remembers. He's like, because it doesn't matter to him as much, but he knows it matters to Karen. So he's just like, yeah, Ink was involved and he was watching the kids. So that's why Gordon came. It's like, I don't think that's what Gordon said. It wasn't, right. It wasn't perfect, but then he downloads Karen on all the other stuff. So that's how Karen comes in swinging on Mia in this thing. She immediately tells Giselle and they go, let's do our job. Let's confront Mia immediately with all of the lies that we just learned from Gordon.
Yeah, Giselle's like, you're a known liar, and you've been lying to us time and again. And it's extremely loud in the club, so they go out, like you can't hear shit. So they go outside to this like patio, and it's total chaos. Mia then pops off on Karen, brings up drunk driving. She's like, you'll fuck anybody with their dick out. Giselle in her confessional is like, we already know that. Next. Like, bad argument.
Totally. Yeah. Mia, comes with her biggest ammo back against Karen with the DUI stuff. Yeah. And she also, she pushes back on what Gordon said. It's like, why all of a sudden do you just believe exactly what Gordon is saying? It really doesn't make sense. It just felt like Karen and Giselle have been thinking that Mia was lying, so they want to use this, against Mia. But it's like, it's not the most reputable source, and also it was secondhand. It's just like they were ready to go against Mia. They've been waiting for this moment, But that's it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Kay sort of sides with Mia in the end, just being like, this is like too serious of a topic to be, just like shouting about. She's sort of like, this is too much.
Yeah, but for me, it's a big deal worth calling out if Mia knows the parentage, but she's faking the viewers out by thinking it's a mystery. I think that's not something that should be a part of the Bravo universe for sure. Yeah,
we're also getting a through line that it seems like Kay's boyfriend sucks and hates filming. She said that again. So I assume they're going to break up at some point because red flags have been planted.
I don't like Greg for Kay. He's kind of mean. And when they showed that home life scene, he was like with his friend and the friend was like, how many meals is she making for you? And like, it was like he won't have a hyphenate. Like there's a lot of like, I don't know, whatever that's called, like masculinity issues about the difference in genders or whatever. It's like, Kay, come on, what like you don't have to deal with this at all. Totally. I wanted to say, a special spotlight to Healing and Thriving, the Ashley Darby song. Every time I hear it, even a cappella, I think it fucking rips. I really like that song, and I can't believe it's not out for how many times they've talked about it. She needs to release that. What is going on in the producing world with Healing and Thriving for it not to be out?
Yeah, damn. I love every time they do the montage. She's like funny. I love that she stays true to that little rinky-dink musical interest of hers.
Yeah, I like it too. So
a better week on Bravo than we thought.
Oh, absolutely. You couldn't have told. I could not have believed anyone who told me that RHONY was going to be good. I never would have believed it. And it was so much better than I ever imagined. And I'm wondering if low expectations catapulted this thing to the moon for us. I wonder if people, as they listen to it and they don't watch RHONY, if they're like, that's what happened. But you have to use it in context of the universe that we've been living in RHONY. And you really have to have grown with Brynn and dealt with Brynn to realize how shocking this is.
To use, again, as an example, Jimmy didn't give the response I was hoping for when I showed it to him, because I texted him. I was like, RHONY was kind of fucking crazy tonight. And I was like, I'll show you. And he was like, that's it? And I was like, you don't understand.
So let us know, if Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs, if out of context you don't watch RHONY and you're trying to grasp, like, you had to be there and you really had to. Amy and I had to work for a moment of joy, or not joy, but a compelling experience on RHONY, because we've been wading through shit for so long. Yeah.
The best way I could, if I had to explain it to someone, I'd be like, a cast member weaponized her own sexual assault to villainize a fellow cast member.
Yeah. That's great. Very, very succinct and exactly what happened. Okay, well, we have nothing else to say, you and I. I mean,
zero.
Absolutely not. 2 hours and 15 minutes. What the hell? I'll say one of the things we always end our episode with. I will say, if you enjoyed this episode, I love the reception every time we put out an episode. I can't say it enough. Even if Amy and I don't comment back, YouTube comments, our Villa Rosa VIPs, every discussion that we post, I love every single one. Like, it's just so validating and sweet to know that you and I are saying things, Amy, you and I, and that people actually listen and enjoy it. So I just want to say what an amazing experience Turtle Time is. And I also want to say that if you enjoyed this and you're on YouTube or whatever, and you just need a little bit more in your life, you're like, I want to hear Vanderpump Rules centric stuff, because Amy and I know Vanderpump Rules like the back of our hands. Our Patreon deals with that fact entirely. We are fully recapping Vanderpump Rules from the very beginning. We say it every week, but there are probably over 90 to 95 episodes of the archive. There are people that just became patrons, I think, like a month ago, and have listened to the entire archive, which is like, what an amazing testament to, not to toot our own horns, but I love that there's enjoyment for this entire endeavor that you and I have had for a year and a half. So if you want to join us there, I really do think it's fun. Me and Amy and I are very freewheeling over there, and we're just talking about something that we absolutely love with a little bit of news in there. So for $5, you really get a huge archive of Amy and I's work.
Deal of the century. And then we always say rate and review if you love us. And we love you, and we mentioned this before, but we'll tease it. Keep an eye out on our social platforms we're going to do a little bit of a fundraiser for the LA wildfires. So stay tuned. Some exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Stay tuned. It's going to be really cool, and I think everyone will love it. So keep an eye out on Instagram or when we talk about that in a different video. But we love you all so much. We appreciate every comment, like I already said. We hope you all have a great day and night, and we will be back very soon before you even know it.
See you later.